Turned the mic on. What's good with y'all? My peoples, get on in here. Let's see if we can start a ruckus tonight. Get in here. Wipe your feet off when you come up in here and hit that like button. Get in here. I'm tired. I laid down for a few minutes, y'all. Y'all know I be in the barber shop. You dig? And on the Saturday, I had a full day in the barber shop. I was supposed to go live earlier, but I laid down for a few seconds. Forgive me. But I got the Pepsi, and my bro Corey told me to hit the button and go live. So I got to do it. So let's see if we can get a ruckus in. Yeah, they call it the barber shop because I'm a Berber, I'm a Muslim, dirty black man from North Africa or some shit. I don't know what the hell. But yeah. Corey, I'm about to send the link now. Let me make the Zoom. I'm gonna make the Zoom. Now I was tired, kind of groggy. So that's why the thumbnail don't make sense. The title don't make sense. You know what I mean? I just ran in here, took a picture off of Google Images, threw it up there as the thumbnail. And since it's Saturday night, I said, fuck it. Saturday Night Live with the Pseudo Killers. It is what it is. All right, let me send this link. But first, everybody come in here, wipe y'all feet off. Corey coming in here. We're going to have some type of conversation tonight. So, let me make this Zoom link. Give me a second. But while we wait for the Zoom link, let's play my man Daquan song. That's our Pseudo Killer official, one of the artists from all the way from Waco, Texas. Let's get it.
Yeah. DQ. Check. Have you ever had a dream in the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Alright. Nigga, have you ever had a dream during the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Calculated every step, so I can't stand a hater out here hating on. Niggas out here making moves, see a hand out the type of shit they waiting on. I'm the type to overlook a hand, cause the wrong step will cost an arm and leg. Niggas tripping, signing deals in red. I'ma hit the booth and make some hits instead. Light years ahead, we done go short a couple of albums, see we up for the challenge. Man, I'm focused on the bread, but these niggas be fucking understanding when it come to my talents. It just pop up past when it come to the salad, yeah, zips to the head. And we never mind hating consumers when it come to the rumors, cause we put them hoes to bed. Oh yeah, niggas try to take the page out my book and take the same steps I took. Network and cultivating relationship, a skill still for real overlooked. Whole squad moving like we Voltron. Yeah, the whole nine looking like a gold mine. I'ma show mine, nigga, when it's go time. I'ma blow mine, niggas, when it's showtime. Niggas try to take a page out my book and take the same steps I took. Cultivating a networking relationship, a skill still for real overlooked. Whole squad moving like we Voltron. Yeah, the whole nine looking like a gold mine. Only show mine, nigga, when it's go time. I'ma blow mine, niggas, when it's showtime. Yes, sir. Have you ever had a dream in the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. And you made it come true cause you stayed down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Alright, nigga, have you ever had a dream during the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. And you made it come true cause you stayed down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Yeah. Big dreams, nightmares and monsters. Pimp thieves, hoes, thoughts and choppers. Crooked oppers, play cops and robbers. Sip lean, smoke weed's the mantra. Weigh risk against shit that cost us. Hit a lick, it tastes bittersweet. You just a good soul, you wanna save the world, but you ain't they type, so they hint to lead. Wholesome souls die and world's incomplete. So I chase the pain so I can chase my dreams. Liquor is licorice inside my candy shop. Candy paint drop, wood grain supreme. Good for it, I'm good for it. Sorry the wave you'll see when you look for it. Real recognize the real you look for. Pressing your luck and I wish you would for us. You don't want a person, nigga, that be living on this North Star. So close, but I'm so far. I'm a tiger in the woods, but I swing like a home run. Holistically on par. You don't really want war, but I'm raw like a tennis racket. How about Venus, but I'm on Mars. So went the galactic is soup for your solar. Bring it back now. You don't want a person, nigga, that be living on this North Star. So close, but I'm so far. I'm a tiger in the woods, but I swing like a home run. Holistically on par. You don't really want war, but I'm raw like a tennis racket. How about Venus, but I'm on Mars. So went the galactic is soup for your solar. Virgo. Have you ever had a dream in the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. And you made it come true cause you stayed down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Alright, nigga, have you ever had a dream during the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. And you made it come true cause you stayed down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right.
Yeah. I love that song. That's the bro Daquan. He be in the chat all the time. He sent me some music. I told him I'll play it on the channel. So I picked a couple tracks that I like. You know what I mean? Pretty dope. Waco, Texas. Stand up. Stu Peas, I'm putting a link to the Discord in the joint right now. Here come the link to the Discord server, Stu Peas. Get it now. Boom. All right. We cool? We cool. All right. Boom. There you go. All right, y'all. Let's put these headphones on. Man the battle stations. And let's get into some pseudo killing. Hit the Pepsi. So, what is going on, everybody in YouTube world? Thank y'all for tuning in to the Pseudo Killers, the livest best show on the internet. Coming to you live from Baltimore, Maryland. It's your boy all the way from the barbershop. The chef is in the building. And where Unc Punk ass at with that wild ass sauce that he tried to pull out of his goddamn shoe on us last night? That was crazy. Did y'all enjoy that show last night? I did. I had fun. Yeah, man. All right, that's what's up, Stupies. Come on in there, Stupies, and get the conversation going. Get in the general chat in the Discord server, the general chat, and just start some shit, and I back you up. You know, I'm with the shits 100%. I'm always with the shits. You start some shit, I'ma back you up. You know what I mean? And that goes for all you pseudo killers out there. Y'all start some shit, I got your back, cause I'm with the shits. Brendan, peace, what's up? Stupid peas, I ain't get killed. Y'all tripping, yo. Y'all fall for anything, man. We've read all of that stuff before. We've been talking about Egypt for the last year. We did a 25-hour show and we went over everything. Y'all thought that was new? Wow. Y'all really don't pay attention. Y'all really don't pay attention. But let me speak to everybody that's in the building. David Pate, what's going on? Raymond, what's up? Cyber 5. Anusha, what it do? Immortal Truth, I just sent you over on Sinetta. Immortal, what's up? Omar, back. Metro Customer, what it do? Oh yeah, I sent you over there too, Metro. You know what I mean? Who else? Late Show 42, what up? Tank ain't ducking nobody. Tank got, who do Tank got coming up? Tank got, what's the boy name? Rolly. The little light-skinned kid, Rolly, he gonna knock your head off. Yes, ma'am, Anusha, I definitely need some time off, but, you know, can't afford to right now. I'm sorry. Corey, what's up, man? Click the link. Corey, what is you doing? I've been sent you the link. You playing. You the one who got me to start the goddamn show up. And I'm in here by myself, not having anything to talk about. So when I don't have nothing to talk about, I talk about Egypt. Oh man, that's a good topic for y'all. Who else we got in here? Venice, what's going on? Crisscross, what it do? Thugs, what it do? Gary Hawk, what it do? Gary, what it do? You know what I mean? Alright, boom. Everything is everything. Jamaican in the building. Brendan. What's up? Vayasa, what it do? Where you been at, bro? We ain't seen you around here in a minute. Anthony Bowman, what it do? The Zion, the Dawn. Yeah, that's right. I'm starting already. So, Stevie said, Bobby with the 50 cal sniped you all. The Nubians were the teachers of the Egyptians. So? Good for the Nubians. I'm glad some black people taught them other non-black Africans how to do the damn thing. Ricardo Robinson, what it do? Peace Sheffrin from London, England, just listening while getting ready for work in a couple of hours. Peace Corey, the Mediterranean Levantian nigga. Oh man, y'all are something else. Hey, Stupies, I'm definitely about to put the link in the chat. I'm just waiting for Corey to hit the link first. I don't know what he doing. That's crazy. He probably mixing some semen or some shit. But yeah, it was a good show last night. Very entertaining. Chief X said he got a rebuttal for Unk and the Armin Raw squad ass. And guess what? I'm here for it. I am here for it. Alright, let's see. Boom. Let's get that out of here. Brendan, do you got a wrench? Oh, Brendan, you got a wrench. You can drop that you can drop the articles if you want to. You got the wrench. You can drop the articles in the back. I mean, in the chat if you want to. All right. You said. Boom. All right. All right, let me see the boom. All right. The Zoom link is up. The Zoom link is up. So boom. There you go, Brendan. Good looking. Hit that like button, y'all. I'm about to post this link. Let y'all come on in here. Cause I don't know what Corey doing. He bullshit. Corey say the bullshit. That's the bullshit. And that's the bullshit. That's the bullshit. All right. That was the link, yo. Somebody come in here and give me some energy, yo. I'm fading. I'm fading, yo. I'm fading. I'm almost out of Pepsi also. Somebody come help me out. Y'all scared tonight? Y'all scared tonight? And Gozy. The Dawn, stay out of that Green Sahara is a mess. Trust me. It's imaginary. That Green Sahara is imaginary. That shit is Disneyland for the pseudos. Trust me. It's Disney. That Green Sahara is Disneyland and yeah, it's Disneyland for the pseudos and the Egyptomaniacs and them Rodney Kemet ass niggas. Don't trust nobody talking about the Green Sahara. They trying to lose you. Once they run into the Green Sahara, they trying to lose you. That's the zigzag move. Gotta know that. Stay on your helmet. Stupid, the link is up, yo. Somebody come. Brendan, click the link. What, you working? You studying? Somebody click the goddamn link. Anusha, you got an interview tomorrow, Anusha. What's up, buddy? What's up, buddy? What's up, buddy? All right, get down. Spot. Oh, my man Adrian came up. Get off my arm, buddy. Hey, yo, boy, your nails scratching me. Adrian, what up? Let me get Adrian up in here. Adrian ain't been in here in a minute.
What's up?
Adrian, what's up?
Oh man, I'm just chilling. Just chilling. You hear me? Oh snap. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm just chilling. I just got off the phone with talking to one of my professors, and then I saw you posted the link. I'm like, I guess I can get in.
What is you doing talking to your professors this late at night? That don't sound right.
Me and my professors like we real tight, and we talk about a variety of things.
Peace.
Brendan, what's up?
Chef,
What's up?
Chef, man, dude, you bandaging up the wounds? Still alive from last night? The fog of war was thick last night.
Man, that was all pseudo nonsense. That was a desperation. That was the last gasp from a dying ideology that we've been stomping out. It's a dying ideology in the black community. It's like when the Hebrew Israelites, they muster up enough, you know what I mean? When they getting beat down real bad, they always manage to try to get back up with all their might, right? But we ain't tripping off that. The train is gonna keep going. We gonna get you niggas back to West Africa where y'all came from. If y'all kicking and screaming across the Sahara.
Shefford, last
Brother,
night
y'all
Bobby came in.
kicking and screaming across the Sahara, like I said, stupids. You're
Stu,
going kicking and screaming
Big up,
across.
Bernie. Big up.
big up,
Question.
brother.
Last night Bobby came in. Bobby Ank mentioned that Nubia was the one who taught Egypt, basically in so many words.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned that the language originated in Nubia, that agriculture came from Nubia up to Egypt. Right?
He said what? He said what?
Yeah,
That the language came from
no.
Nubia.
Yeah, the
And
language.
and the agriculture.
The language, yes. About when he read the article saying that the language has its origin in Nubia. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's what
the language.
I thought he said. He ain't say that though.
He never said that. All right, we're going to try and find it. Okay, I sorry that I misinterpreted him then because that I thought it was.
See, look.
All right.
Did I? All right, let me ask you a question. Did I talk to you anytime today, Stu B's?
No.
No, I didn't talk to you anytime today. Now you heard this, Brendan and Adrian in the chat. Stu B's just said he heard, and I never said nothing about nothing. Stu P said that he heard Unc said that the language, that Afro-Asiatic language that the Egyptians spoke came from down with the Nubians, right? Now,
Right.
I didn't talk to Stu B's none today. I mentioned that to Unc earlier because Chief X said it, and Unc told me that he never said that. So everybody is gone crazy. These are the games that he played. And I'm telling you, in 3 days it's gonna be something else, and it's gonna keep a flipping and flopping. And I'm 7 months into the conversation. We done went. Look, I'm all the way in the Green Sahara in the zigzag. This boy is good. I'm telling you.
No, but the other question I need to add: when was the Sahara green? When was it last green? 10,000 years ago?
Around
5,000 years ago?
6,000 years ago. I think the desertification started around 8,000 years ago. But
8,000. You know
that's
that
when it started. But it took thousands of years for it to get to its current condition.
That's true.
Right.
You need to go and look upon the speed of desertification. You need to look in China. You need to look in other areas. In less than 100 years, the desert can claim miles upon miles upon miles of agricultural land in a short time. If the system is not put in place to stop it. Look at this. We need to research desertification and how fast it happened. It is a quick thing. So, all right, 6,000 years ago it happened. Let's say 6,000 years ago. How old are the pyramids? About 5,000 years old?
Yeah, yep. Around 2,800, something like that. 2,800 BC, 24, 20, something like that. About 2,500 BC. Yeah, close to 5,000 years.
So we had about 1,000 years of desertification happening before the pyramids were built then.
What? Yeah. I'm with you. Go ahead.
Right. Because we're looking at 5,000 years since Egypt, but desertification started 6,000 years ago. And within 1,000 years, we need to look upon the speed of desertification to realize what was happening. This thing desertification don't creep. It's fast like bullet. I mean, 1 year, in less than 1 year, you have a mile. So in 1,000 years, it would have almost encompassed everything. Because it's not slow. The process is not a slow process. It's not water within our rocks, this. Desertification is a total different animal. So, all right, the other thing he mentioned.
No, just as I guess you would say a marker in terms of what I guess the time frame we were looking at with the desertification of the Green Sahara and when things became arid. We were looking at about around 6,000 BCE, right? 6,000 right. And then forward, right? That's what we were looking at. Yep.
And the pyramids start building 5,000 BCE.
Yeah.
No, we start pyramid building.
These are when, like, in terms of the desertification, when that started to happen, that's when population groups started migrating towards the Nile, right?
Right.
Because it was inhospitable, right, inside of the Sahara.
Right. So if it wasn't for desertification, you wouldn't have the establishment of cities like Giza, where people naturally moved closer to the flood basin of the Nile. Correct?
Right.
So desertification is a direct result of Egypt becoming a cosmopolitan state. That what you're saying?
Yes, for sure. The climate change,
because it pushed the populace in one direction. So some people went north and some people went south.
Yeah, exactly. And some people east, right?
And some people went east.
Yeah, exactly. Some people went east, some people went west. Like, for instance, like people that were closer to the Red Sea, right? They moved inland towards the Nile as well, because of the desertification, right? But so you had groups, multiple groups were moving towards the Nile, right? Because of that.
And Arabia had desertified. Hold on, Arabia had desertified too, so it pushed people from that area towards water also. So,
all right. My question is this: how long? 5,000 years. Let's
no, but did you hear what I just said? Steve, did you hear what I just said?
Yeah.
About the Arabian Peninsula.
It pushed the Arabs. It pushed the Arabians. It pushed those people, the Arabs, into Egypt.
Western Asians.
Yeah, the Western Asia. The Arab never existed at that time, but I still call them Arabs based on who the people them look.
Yeah, I'm with you. I understand that.
Yeah, my question is, 100 years is 4 generations, right?
It is.
So 4 times 50 Yeah, 25 years per generation.
Okay.
5,000 years is 50, 100 years. So 4 times 50 is 200 generations.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, all right. That wouldn't be enough time for people to change. Would that be enough time for people to change
Who said
how they look?
No, who said that people changed?
No, because if the Nubians were in that land.
Yeah, see, that's...
All right, let me stop.
No,
Let me stop for a second.
Go ahead.
When did the Greek take over Egypt?
The Greeks around...
That was way later. That was
around
way
332 BCE.
So all right. So when was Egypt actually a standalone Egypt then, before the Greek? How long it lasted? About 2,000 years?
You say from 3100 BCE to 330 BCE.
2,000
It
years.
was, almost 2,000 year history. Yeah, 3,000. That would be almost 3,000.
Almost 3,000 years before the Greek took it over?
Yeah. Around 2,800 years. That would be around 2,800 years, something like that. Go ahead.
Because the Romans took it over in about 33 BC.
Okay.
Yeah, the Romans took it over in about 33 BC. Because first it was the Greeks, then it was the Romans. But prior to that, those 3,000 years, the reason why I'm asking, if you look at Egyptian statues, carvings, and Greek carvings, they look totally different, right? But how they carve, because Greek carving tend to be more detailed in terms of how it show the body definition, the muscles, and all of that. Although it's in some Egyptian carving, it never as detailed as Greek carving. So I was trying to just use that to say what the people actually look like.
Mm-hmm.
Uncle again showed some. He showed a statuette with a gentleman that with an afro here, but he phenotypically he looked like an Indian. To me, he looked like an Indian. He would look like he never have the big straight nose of the Greek. He have the nose of people of Indian descent, and trying to establish that this was like a black person, a Nubian. Remember that picture I showed?
Yeah, it was the wooden bust of the guy that was
Right.
on the exhibit. It was like a picture for the exhibit thing. Yeah.
That person looked like a Nubian? That person looked like a West African? The wooden bust look like a West African? Or look like a Indian? Whom closer looking like? If we're going to use lookership, because he brought that up to say, all right, this wooden bust, this person is a black person. But phenotypically, the nose and the mouth,
I don't know if they were using that particular, I guess you would say that image as saying that, oh, this guy looks like a black person. I think they were more reading the text for the exhibit. That was sort of like the lead into the presentation, right? I may be wrong, but I didn't think they were using that as saying, hey, look at this bust. This looks like a black guy. They were sort of reading.
Brendan?
That's why I say I may be wrong. I think they.
No, I don't know. I didn't see it, so I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Can we establish?
Here's what I will say. In terms of what I've seen in some of the, I guess, the information that I've reviewed, right? And we talk about everything that was said, right, with last night. And there's some scholarly information that's come out, right? Those Cambridge Elements articles. There's like a series of those. Is about 9 articles. I would say that all of those need to be reviewed, right? Because if I read the first one, and there's a lot of new information inside of those articles. If you're not careful, you can end up stepping in things that can get really confusing. So I would say that anybody interested in this topic read those new articles from Cambridge Press, right? Cambridge University Press, and then go through those first before jumping out of the window and making statements now, because there's a
you
lot
read
of
it, you
new
right?
things. There's a lot
What's
of
some
new
of the
You
things
read
things.
it.
that caught your
Give us,
eye in there?
yes. Give us an example of some of the things that caught your eye. Since you read it, like two
Right.
things
I,
that
I,
caught your eye.
yeah, exactly. What I would say in terms of like some of the information that I've been looking at, right? I've been seeing in terms of the cultural, I guess you would say, exchanges from the south to the north inside of the middle Nile area. I've been seeing that, right? Okay, a lot of scholars have been talking about that, but they haven't been tying that to the origins of the people, right? So I can see, okay, well, you have like some cultural exchange in terms of like the burial practices. You see the ritual practices. You see some of the tooling, stuff like that. You see like the farming practices. They say, but they wouldn't go as far to say, okay, well, there is those are the same people. They wouldn't do that. Inside of the Cambridge Press, they're taking a step forward in doing some of that. They're saying in terms of the integration between the Nubian areas, Egypt, and even more northly, right? They're saying that yeah, there is tight integration between all of these peoples. So you have and they're doing it in a scholarly way. So you guys have to read that information. I say now because that's a lot of that is a game changer, because this is the information that I've been looking for.
Did you highlight any of the information that you could bring to us?
Yeah,
Because that when you
Yep,
find
yep.
information like that, it's
Oh
important
yeah,
that you
for
share
sure,
it
for
with us.
sure. Yeah, for
Did
sure,
you
for sure.
highlight any of it, and can you bring it to us? Because that's information that you don't lock away in the closet.
Oh
You
yeah, yeah.
be
That's why I
admonished
was.
for that.
Yeah,
hey,
I put the there's a link there. These are like very concise little small articles. I think the first one that I read was like 62 pages, right? I got through it today, but it's
Yeah,
very
but what's
deceptive,
in it? Like,
right?
did you
And that's
highlight like page one, page two, and highlight like certain paragraphs?
well,
Because
well,
that
yeah,
would be
well, yeah,
important.
yeah, yeah. I won't
hey,
I won't
hey,
pull it up
Brendan.
now,
Hey,
right?
Brendan. I heard Sheffrin. He said something very profound the other day while I was listening,
Hmm.
and you just mentioned, like the scholars, they wouldn't go as far as to kind of equate them as the same people, right?
Right.
And that's kind of where I'm at it. Like, I don't think it does justice to those people to try to smash those two cultures together, because as we read and as we're learning, and maybe people say that, well, I've been knew that or whatever, what have you, but we see that these cultures were contemporary, right?
Right.
If we're
Hmm.
talking about Nubians, right? And so I just think it's a disservice that those people can't be their own people. You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't Nubians be Nubians? It just seems so disrespectful to me how here we are trying to smash these two cultures together because they might have shared a pot or two. You know what I'm saying? It's like saying Americans and Canadians is the same. If from if you don't even have to go 2,000 years from now, right? If we take a snapshot here and go 500 years from now, right? And somebody from a different planet comes over here and is no humans left. All they got is what we left behind, right? It's gonna seem like Canada and America was the same culture. You know what I'm saying? But no American will say, "Yo, I'm a Canadian," and a Canadian will feel disrespected if you try to call him an American. You know what I'm saying? Or say that you know his life and culture is an American culture or whatever. I think I don't think that's right. I think and then here we are on YouTube, and we you know, I don't know how well educated everybody is, but I got a I went to school. I went to trade school, so I'm not as knowledgeable as the curators at the museum. And at the museum, they have a Nubian section, and then they have an Egyptian section. You know what I mean? I think that's more respectful because all people have the right to distinguish themselves. You know, Canadians have the right to be Canadians, and Americans have the right to be Americans. I think that's, you know, I don't see the grandeur in trying to smash those two cultures together, because also I've been reading that the borders change. So what used to be Nubia is now Egypt now, right? So the place that used to be Nubia for a while, now today is Egypt owns all of that, right? So we got to consider that a little bit too. So I think just it's a lot of confusion, and again, I think that's where a lot of people like to lay at. They like to lay in the clouds and in the confusion and make sure that everybody don't really know, and you can't put your finger here, and you know what I mean? It's all blurry and it don't really make sense, and you really can't say, and you know, all of that. That's where the clouds is, and that's in the confusion. And we come for clarity. We're trying to get as much clarity as possible. We don't want to keep adding layers and layers and layers of clouds, you know, as if, you know, we the professionals in the field or something like that. But, you know, I digress. Somebody else to hone in or chime in on that.
Concrete. While I agree with you, I probably wouldn't use the analogy of the Americans and the Canadians, since they had the same colonizers, British. I would use more like the Germans.
No, but the cultures are different.
The culture,
you know,
Canadian,
no Canadian would allow you to tell them that they're an American. I mean, that's just
but if we just go back 400 years, go back 400 years, they're the same colonizers. But I would use that.
I feel you. I hear you.
Yeah, I would use that Italians and Germans. Like, they might look a lot similar, but nobody can say that they're ever the same people. The Germans were the tribal, the Italians were the Romans. The phenotypically, they might have the same complexion, but they're two totally different people. So it could be that with the Egyptians and the Nubians. They might have similar colorations, but they were two totally different people. They intermingled, yes, and they traded. Nobody can say no to that. But we need to say, are they two different people or are they the same people? And then the other thing I need to do, because we're using this word African, that they're African. And when I hear African, I hear black. When you hear African, what you hear? When somebody said
I used to hear black when I heard African, but now I have a different understanding when I hear African now.
Right. But until we start learning that Northern African people generally might not be the same people as Southern, Western, or Eastern African people.
Well, let me say this. Because words definitely come with a set of connotations, right? Already and baggage already connected to it. And case in point is, we say Asian, right, in America. And when we're talking about Asians in America, we're not talking about people from Lebanon. Right. We're not talking about people from the Middle East. We're talking about East Asians, right?
Right.
Exactly. So
we're not talking about Russia.
Yeah, we're not talking about
Asia. I'm not talking about Russia.
Exactly. or the people in Lebanon, right? Or the people in Syria, right? So when you say, yo, they of Asian descent, right? To try to be as political, without saying a derogatory word for East Asian, right? You know the words that we use in our community. You know what I mean? For you know, people of East Asian descent. We have derogatory terms, you know what I mean, that is thrown around. It's not a good thing. I wouldn't advise using them, but we do that. But the point that I'm making is, those words come with baggage, right? When we say Asian in this country, we are talking about Chinese people, Koreans, Japanese, you know what I mean? Those people, Filipinos, people from Taiwan, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter where they say they from, we call all them they Asian, right?
Yep.
When we're talking about people, you know what I mean, from West Asia, we call that what? The Middle East. We say those people are Middle Easterns, right? So everywhere in the world, right? And Asia, the continent that's right next to them, right? Right next to Africa, we see how we use the diversity, right? Far as wise the phenotype of the people, right? And we group them geographically. You dig what I'm saying? And we make those distinctions between them, right? So when they try to say that the Egyptians are just African, right? That's ambiguous. It's not telling you nothing because there's more than one group of African, right? It's many different groups of Africans. So it's crazy how they want to be specific to tie you down to something, right? But they want to be as general as possible when they talking about Egypt. They tell us we can't even use Nubian, right? No, can't use that. They not Nubians. Can't use that word. Ancient people ain't never called themselves Nubians, right? Okay, well, them ancient people ain't never say that all of them were African either. They placeholders. Let the conversation move forward. But nobody, you know what I mean, recognize Africa as being split up, because when we say African, they know that the connotation for African is black. They know it. So they're gonna have to start making that distinction. You know what I mean? They're gonna have to start making that distinction. What y'all think about that?
I think they're going to, I know the response to that. I know what the response is going to be to that. Well, I can't hold myself back because everybody else, you know, is thinking one thing. And if I say African, I know what I mean. You know, it's not my fault that people ain't educated enough to get the nuances and all of the rest of the perspectives and everything else. You know what I mean? So that's going to be the response to it. But I feel you. I mean, that's absolutely correct. I mean, before 2 years ago, if somebody said Asian, I'd known exactly what they were talking about. If somebody said African, I'd know exactly what they were talking about. When somebody talk about Middle Easterners, we know exactly what Middle Easterners talking about. Whether ancient people called themselves that or not, that's what we refer to. That's the placeholder, like you said. That's the placeholder today, so that we can have a conversation, so the conversation can move forward, so we don't stay bogged down in one area and we never you know, move forward with the conversation. You know, you got to have shortcuts.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point, Chef. Though, but I think we get a little bit better with that, because you know what, we got to start locking these conversations down to geography and chronology, right? Because like just like you said, it's like when you start talking about Africa and Egypt, you're talking about a huge span in terms of a huge continent in terms of Africa, and a huge span of time in terms of Egypt, right? Who knows what we're talking about when we start making arguments, right? We have to start narrowing things down, right? And I think you're spot on with that.
Jeffrey, you said, let me get clarification on this. I don't want to lose it, because you said something beautiful. Am I wrong in interpreting this way? That when you look at the continent, that Russia is on, that China is on, that India is on, that Pakistan is on, that Afghanistan is on that continent, they don't refer to all the same people as one people. But when you look at Africa, this vast continent, almost as big, if not bigger than the continent I just make reference to a while ago. We're almost, from day one, black people will tell you that Africa is a black land.
Right.
This huge place. And we're not saying that China, where China is a Chinaman land. or where Russia is a white land, or where India is an Indian land, but yet still they all share the same continent. So we need to start really when we talk about Africa, we need to say north, south, east, and west to differentiate different areas. Because just like on other large, vast continents, you have different people living in different areas. On Africa, you can have different people living in different areas.
Yeah, I
That's what I
totally.
got from you.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And when you think about it, is they hide behind those things, right? Because after they had that beautiful conversation yesterday, right? And Unc presented that source, and they was doing their victory lap, right? Reggie turned around and doubled down and say that those North African populations, right, again, is not African. They are invaders. They pushed the original black people out of North Africa. So it is mind-boggling that they act like they're together on their they act like they're talking completely scientific, and then they go pseudo and they act like
Yeah, you right. You right. You
exactly,
exactly right.
and they act like we don't pose to call them on that. They act like, no, I'm just saying what the scholar's saying. No, y'all not. If your partner in crime is saying something that the scholars is not saying, and you're not disagreeing with him, you're just making a point to disagree with me, then you must be saying the same thing he's saying. But just because it's not coming out your mouth, don't mean that you're not saying it. You see what? That's the game that Unc
Yeah,
play.
yeah, you got to be careful with the overreach. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's the game that Unc play. He let them look. He say, "I'm not talking about race," but Smash comes on and say, "Yeah, they was black." So Unc say when he talking to us, black don't exist. I'm not
Yeah,
playing that game, right?
the,
But hold on, Geechee. Smash come on or Saw come on and say, yeah, the Egyptians was black. Unc don't fuss with them, right? He don't make that same stance when they're claiming black Egypt. He only make the stance that there's no race when we say that the Egyptians wasn't black. You see what I'm saying? Bullshit.
Mm.
Bullshit. But go ahead, Geechee.
No, I was gonna say, even like, you know what I'm saying, Jonathan claiming the Magi and all that stuff, we ain't even them people. Like the Beach, we ain't not the Beja people. Like the Beja people, Afro-Asiatic speakers, you know what I'm saying, even though some of them would have been Nubian, they would have been way closer to way closer related to, you know, Egyptians than anybody else. You know, so you had other Afro-Asiatic speakers in that area other than Egyptians, and then, you know what I'm saying, they'd be classified as so-called Nubian or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You got different groups all throughout that motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's crazy. But that's the contradiction that I
Yeah.
that it frustrates me because, like Corey was saying, we trying to get to clarity, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and,
That,
and
that,
it,
that, that, that,
go ahead.
that, that- that's why I say I advise both of y'all to get that Christopher Herod book and read it in your
I
own,
I
because
got it. I
you know,
got it. I got
Unc
it.
keep kind of jumping around in it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I'm saying? Like even them Berbers, them light skinned Berbers. You know what I'm saying? When they first start mixing, you know what I'm saying? That's why me and Goals always reference or use the Somali or Horn African type or the Highland type Ethiopians as an example. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause they the most close related to them people, and they're like a example of what the early Afrasians would have looked like. You know what I'm saying? Even though they still mixed, but them base Eurasian group, even before the light skinned genes start kicking in and people start migrating in. You know what I'm saying? With these other variants a little bit later on. You know what I'm saying? Doing Neolithic pottery B period. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying? Even them people, you know what I'm saying, was different than you know what I'm saying, people that became West Africa.
That's
But you know what? You know what one of the major linchpins of the sinking of the ship yesterday was, right?
mm-hmm.
So it was the whole thing about Egypt is a Mediterranean culture, right? We heard this. It was several shows, either on this panel, on this show, external shows, Chief X. Egypt is a Mediterranean culture, right? Is a North African culture, right? It was Is it? Yes, it is. Right? Egypt is a Mediterranean culture. Egypt is a North African culture. Right?
Facts.
But Egypt also is its own culture,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also linked to cultures in the South as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was almost like, okay, saying that, the emphasis on Egypt being a Mediterranean culture, it was like exclusive. It's exclusively in the Mediterranean culture, and that's never been true,
But that
right?
never been
No,
our
no,
stance
no,
either. See, that's the game that
But
they
but
play.
but that's how it sort of came across,
Yeah,
right?
no.
because
See,
they honed
I've
in on
always,
it. Hold on,
yeah,
Corey. That's
and
because they
No,
go
no,
hold.
ahead.
That's because they honed in on it. You know what I mean? To play the African card. You dig what I'm saying? Because saying this Mediterranean, it takes it further away from inner Africa. So they want to hone in on is not Mediterranean, even though Egypt and North Africa is Mediterranean. It's nowhere around that. Why would you even? They say the Greeks and Romans, they Mediterranean cultures. Well, how? You dig what I'm saying? It would be the same thing. It will be absolutely the same thing. The people of Rome and Greece did not come from inside the Mediterranean Sea. They come from Southern Europe and then they move towards the coastline. Like any other people. You see what I'm saying? It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
go ahead.
I hear you. But in terms of in the context of the conversation from yesterday, right? We were focusing on the origins of Egypt, how it emerged
Mm-hmm.
around 4500 BCE, right?
Mm-hmm.
It had nothing to do with the Mediterranean. It was all inter-African. It was all okay, those population groups migrating, coming out of I guess, the aridization of what they call it, the Green Sahara. When it
Mm-hmm.
became arid, everything was focused on that. So that whole conversation around the Mediterranean piece sort of it folded on itself last night. So
Yeah, but
that that's that
and
that
that
was
and
that was the big piece of the L that happened.
No,
I-
that's
I'm just
because
you
saying.
know,
I'm just
that's because
let me
they
say,
made it that. They made it
let
that.
me say this.
Oh, hold on, Corey. When we said that Egypt was a Mediterranean culture, we pulled up a source for that. They made it that it
was its
didn't.
origins
No,
from its
no, no,
origins.
no. They made the origins. They tried to put origin on it. Nobody ever said, far as wise me and Corey, that it originated in the Mediterranean, right? They said that. When we said it was a Mediterranean culture, we pulled up sources showing how Egypt participated in the Mediterranean. And they got stuff, you know what I mean, the trade, the of goods and ideas,
Oh
you know
yeah,
what I
for sure,
mean,
for sure.
that flowed
And
in
and
from the
that's why
Mediterranean. That's what we
that's
were
why
saying.
chronology. That's why chronology is important,
Right,
right?
but
If we never introduce chronology in these conversations, just saying that it's a Mediterranean culture without the chronology piece, it sort
Well,
of it
well,
falls apart.
because we the it's the time period that matters, right?
Yeah.
But first of all, I want to say that I've always qualified that when I said it was a Mediterranean culture. They only framed it that way because they had to in order to have an argument.
mm-hmm.
But I've always said that Egypt, the Mediterranean makes up multiple cultures, and
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
Egypt was
Can I can
one. Egypt was one of the Mediterranean cultures, and I also pointed out that Egypt was the main factor in Mediterranean culture. It's one of the major factors in Mediterranean culture. And so, in order for them to have an argument, I have to be saying that the culture originated
Mm-hmm.
in Mediterranean. And even if we go back, let me say this. Even if we go back to where you talking about, are we saying these people had not been coming back and forth at 45 BC?
no, but question.
You know, are
Concrete.
we saying
I
these
need it.
people have not
From
been
the
traveling,
Mediterranean.
have not been going back and forth in this area? Is these not the same people that's been traveling, going back and forth in this area for all of those thousands of years, even back to 45 BC?
Yeah, that's why I say it's Red Sea and Mediterranean simultaneously.
Yeah, all yeah, for sure.
Anybody ever look at it
Great
this way
point. Great
and
point.
realize? Anybody ever realize how close Spain is to North Africa? Do you know how close Spain is to North Africa?
I think it's
We need to
less than
figure that
100.
out.
I think it's less than 100 miles.
Where?
It is less
Yeah, I
Spain
think
to North Africa.
Spain. Okay, yeah.
It
Yeah.
is Spain to North Africa is less than 50 miles.
So that's
The
like
peninsula,
traveling to
little bridge.
Chicago for me. Going to Chicago is less than 100 miles for me.
No,
You
but
know
Spain
what I
to
mean?
North Africa, when you cross
Yeah,
the bridge,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it
it's
is
really close.
right next door.
It's the same place. Still, stop playing. It's the same place.
Yeah, I mean, you got the beach right there. You
Yeah,
know
it's
what
the
I'm
same
saying?
place.
You know what I mean?
No,
You go across the
Yeah,
water.
when people was migrating in and out, they didn't know they was leaving continents. They just thought they was just following their stomachs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Absolutely, Ichi. That's a good point that you had that I think people been glancing over, and and also I made a point last night that I think people glance over the fact that we live in air conditioned homes now. So the Egyptians are probably a lot lighter today than they would be, you know, if we wouldn't living in air conditioned homes. You know what I'm saying? So y'all ain't, you know, people just ain't considering shit. You know, well they painted themselves brown on the wall, and you know what I mean.
That's because
This shit just be ridiculous to me.
That's because some of them red skin, corner types still lingering around, even though some was still, highly mixed than others. You know what I'm saying? All them people
Yeah,
was
but
mixed
them
up to
people get
different
if
degrees.
they was in the sun in the field farming and shit, them people would be dark skinned today. I mean,
Yeah, you right. Yeah, you right.
You know what I mean? They live in air conditioned homes.
Sosa,
But even some of the dark skin ones that migrated out and born, they carried that SLC gene, the light skin gene, in you know what I'm saying, even in the basal breath, and it expressed itself later on. You know what I'm saying? They always had this shit.
Geechee, we gonna you know what would be a great. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sosa,
Go ahead.
what's up?
No, things yeah, what's good. Hey, 'cause, I'm getting into the Christopher Eric book. I already talked to Ngozi too about and Geechee about like walking through some of that book because Christopher Eric book is a little different because he's tracing shit through like linguistics, right? So it's a different discipline than your more normal archaeological book. You know what I'm saying? And some of the theories he's putting forth. So because I'm looking at it now, and Unc was using that as like it's the standard. That's not what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because some things he's proposing based on linguistic, but there's no archaeological evidence yet to back up certain claims. And in the text, he tells you that. You see what I'm saying? That's why. So he's saying things like he's proposing certain things. But even he himself is talking about a cultural, at least a trade that's going on for thousands of years, backwards and forwards. Before Egypt is set up in that area, so you can't act like there's no type of influence going on both ways. You know what I'm saying? And even when you bring up the people of the Nile still got an ancestral population. So you got to talk about who were the people in the Nile. Like, so that's why I think they didn't want to answer any questions. They just kind of did a quick little bomb, victory lap. Yeah, you the man, Reggie. I always love you, Smash. Yo, I want to thank you for being there. You know what I'm saying, Woo Job. Hey, yo, man, we made it, baby.
That was crazy. It was crazy.
I laughed. That's what some bullshit.
Which book about Christopher Eric are you reading? So I want to grab
Civilization of Africa. Yeah, I'm gonna call through it slowly and juxtapose it with some of the current information so I can tease out some stuff.
I want to say too, Sosa, on adding on to the cow domestication. It was earlier cows that migrated in. They called Bos taurus africanus. They indigenous African cows, but that was a little bit more wilder. You know what I'm saying? A lot of hair. But then the Asiatics, they brought in the Zebu cows with the humps. They brought the cows in with the humps.
Right. and that's important to the conversation. And that's why I was like, you got to address that through farming, because when you look at that wall, I was talking about in Goldie last night. When you look at that wall painting, you see that sheep there. That sheep ain't indigenous to Africa. That's that domesticated sheep. That means that either indirectly, that's some South Asian, Southwest Asian type of trade going on, directly or indirectly.
Not a
Who brought the noise in the background?
Let me say this real quick. Not a Barbary sheep. It was wild, and Niger Congo people kept them, but they wasn't like fully domesticated. If you see the Saharian roundhead ort, you'll see them with the Barbary sheep. But those people was Niger Congo people.
Yeah. You know what? One of the interesting things, I guess, in terms of what Christopher Eric, what he proposes is that he leans more heavily towards the pastoralism and the agricultural and all that stuff in terms of being, I guess, an impact on the moving of the populations, as opposed to the climate change with the drying of the Sahara, right? So that's what a lot of, when you say the contention between a lot of what Christopher Eric proposes, right? And you would say was it David Wingrove, right? As well. They propose that as opposed to, a lot of the climate change conversations, right? So
it's a little bit of both though, because even Jared Diamond makes he still, because and most of them do, because they talk about this, the lifestyle. Like, hunter and gatherers and pastoralists and farmers can't cohabitate in the same area.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can't have
you're right, because
even picking tubes, picking roots and shit. Like, nah.
Yeah, you're right, because even after Asiatic people in their early grain period, especially from a pre-agricultural beginning, they were still hunter gatherers, but they just, had a different technique to it, and eventually became, sensitive. But even in the narrative,
We can't even hear you, yo.
Yeah.
Hey, your background.
My bad. Hold on.
Yeah. And you know what? And some of the big critics of either of Christopher Eric and Wingrove is like I guess everybody in that same ilk, right? They say that, you guys are putting like a more of a modern interpretation on these ancient peoples, and it's like I would rather you just deal with the information as opposed to saying that, because that's more of an epistemological sort of critique, right? It's like everything has to be filtered through the human lens, right? So you just can't say that, you're just putting your own interpretation on. Everybody's putting their own interpretation on it, So it's like I kind of throw out a lot of the, I guess you would say, critiques of it, unless it's like dealing with the real information that they're putting forth, right?
Yeah. And that's why I was like, I thought like, like for me in the whole Egypt conversation, like I want to get deep down into it, like we do goddamn science shit. I want to hash out all the little minutiae. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want a quick bop, we done. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't do that.
The conversation is definitely not done. It's not done.
Hey, Sosa, we could do that on my channel if you want to. No interruption.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm gonna read some more. I'm gonna read some more because, like I said, I just started reading. I wanna give me a little time to read some more of it. Good.
So I mentioned. I
like the book though. I like what I read so far.
Hey, Fitz, just before you jump on, Fitz, I was gonna ask Sosa about did you pick up the articles from the Cambridge Elements on those as well? If you haven't,
no. When you drop the link, drop it in the like I'm dropping the back chat. I'll grab those too.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop those. If you can't get access to them,
I got them. I'm looking at them now. Now let me say this.
Grab those articles. Those are the newer ones. All of that stuff, like I say, it's for me. All of that is a game changer, right? So,
all right. So listen to this. All right, this the first article. All right, it says Egypt and Africa, a debated issue. All right. Now remember the conversation that we was just having earlier. all right, about Africa and classifying something, you know what I mean, that broadly. All right. It says, since the beginning of research into ancient Egypt, the issue of its relations with the rest of Africa has been a constantly debated subject. It is well known that the Nile runs through Egypt, constituting its lifeblood. Yet this river originates in Africa, a fact that has produced constant speculations on relations with the upstream regions. Listen to what that just said. It said that it originates in Africa. Wow. That's like if anybody read that part and had to ponder about that, it's no help for motherfuckers. You feel me? Like that's just so. All right, so let me keep going. That is just crazy to me. Um, it says this debate on Egyptian African relations is not only embedded in the geographical setting itself, but is also tied up with the origins of Egyptology and the general cultural milieu of the 19th and 20th century Europe. It should be remarked that in the earliest studies on the cultures of the Nile Valley, scholars were heavily conditioned by the idea and theories elaborated by ancient writers. In particular, as far as this specific issue is concerned, Diodorus Siculus, a Greek author, suggested that several Egyptian religions features may have a southern or what he termed Ethiopian origin. 3. From this reason, it was initially believed that the Meroitic remains of Nubia may have predated Egyptian dynastic antiquities. Such a view arose after Muhammad Ali Khedive of Egypt had conquered the regions south of the First Cataract in 1820, and the rich archaeological heritage of Nubia was revealed to Westerners. However, after his first scientific expedition to record the monuments of the Middle Nile area, Leppius, Carl Richards, Leppius demonstrates that the Napatan and Meroitic remains were contemporary to the latest phase of Egyptian dynastic history, and most of the Egyptian remains of the region could not be dated earlier than the New Kingdom. What did y'all take from that? Corey, is still light where you at?
It's daylight
I,
savings time, right?
Repeat,
I missed part of
repeat
the
that
shit.
about the New Kingdom. Repeat
I
that
missed
again
part of
about
that
the
shit.
New
I
Kingdom.
had to step out for a second.
Repeat the New Kingdom part.
Okay,
You know,
Repeat the part
yeah,
about the New Kingdom.
yeah, it's leading up to something, right? That's just a piece of the article, right?
yeah. It says.
Repeat the New Kingdom part.
Okay,
Because that's on
Hey,
call.
because I
Go ahead.
a little bit I heard because you was hitting on like the flow coming from the south type shit.
Yeah, so check it out. It says Carl Richard Leppius demonstrated that the Napatan Meroitic remains were contemporary of the latest phases
Yeah.
of Egyptian dynastic history, and most of the Egyptian remains of the region could not be dated earlier than the New Kingdom.
when was the New Kingdom?
So when the Greeks came in, the earliest was Herodotus. Hey, how brothers doing? Peace and love to the panel.
What's going on,
Peace,
Ngozi?
bro.
Peace. What up, Josie? What up?
Peace, King. So when Herodotus went into Egypt, it was in 500 BC. And after that, the Greeks took over Egypt in 332 BC. So when they come into Egypt, the Nubians already ran through Egypt. So they left a genetic trail.
Mm-hmm.
So what they seen, the Sudanese or the Nubians or the Meroitic Sudanese took over Egypt in 700 BC. So that's like 300 years prior before the Greeks come in.
Mm-hmm.
So what Herodotus is saying in 500 BC, when he describes some of the people looking Ethiopian.
See?
Shit,
Hey, that's another story
Yeah,
though.
that's crazy.
shit. Because the minute you was saying, I was like, hold on. Like, oh my
So
goodness.
Brendan,
Oh my.
Brendan, what did you take from it?
No, I was basically I think you kind of stopped like in midstream in terms of like reading it out. I was like trying to. It was like, okay, well, keep going. I was trying to get a more complete understanding of what was being
Yeah,
said.
There
because
was
now
nothing to that.
when there's a quote, no, but when there's a quote that says, if you look now, I realize that because I didn't even pay attention to that before. Like whenever a Greek is referring to an Egyptian in appearance, you really have to consider
The time period that
it
they
during
was
the
there.
Kushite reign, right? Because if it's doing when the Nubian reign, then of course he gonna describe somebody more Nubian, or you know what I'm saying? What we consider to be Nubian in features. Yeah. I wasn't even thinking like that before now. All right, go ahead, Chef. That's great.
All right.
There was nothing in that.
You said it was nothing in that?
Nothing. What did that prove?
That's I'm trying to listen. I'm like, okay, well, what
do you think? So you don't see any relevance in what I just said about when a Greek says what he saw. You don't see the relevance in thinking about the time period therein when the Greeks are reporting what they see in Egypt. You don't think that's relevant?
That's always going to be relevant, so in any case we're talking about time period, because the people didn't stay the same. They mingled. They changed.
No,
it's going to change.
not people. We're talking about different. We're talking about Nubians versus Egyptians. We're talking about a different group of individuals, bro. You feel me? It's not. It's like saying if I describe the Pharaoh of Egypt during Roman occupation, I can't take that to be
it's like
the Egyptians were. If I'm talking about the time.
Sosa, in terms of that, Sosa, when you're talking about stuff like
they
that,
look different.
They're so close to each other. That's like Irish and the English. You're really not going much further from each other.
Nah, the Nubians and Egyptians distinguish themselves a lot more than goddamn Irish or English.
They will. The reason why they will, because one's just inside the equator and one's just outside the equator zone. So they're indigenously different.
They ain't by no equator. They not
by
no equator.
Those Nubians, some of those Sudanese people, bro, you got to think about the selective pressures that they went through. They was phenotypically farly distinct from the people in Egypt, bro. Let's just keep
I can imagine they look. Yeah, I can imagine they look different. Yeah,
right. And the Egyptian showed the difference.
I'm saying, Amir, I'm not saying that's not right, but I'm saying the reason that is because one of them was in the equator zone and one of them just outside.
That's irregardless. We know the reason.
You understand that we know about the reason, bro. Like we done had enough conversations to know that we understand that part. That's not what we're talking about.
Well, the three biggest countries in Africa is three. It's Algeria. It was Sudan before it split. Sudan was way bigger than Algeria, and it's Nigeria with the largest population. When you talk about Sudan again, they were not homogenous. Even the Nubian A group, even some of them had back migrated genetic signatures that was distinct from other groups of Sudanese before they even.
Hello? What happened to the brother Goes?
He must have chipped out for a second.
Hey, I'm saying you'll be surprised. They were far from one another. So just because those countries is next to one another, they wasn't the same. It's just like Mexico and North America. Mexico is part of North America, but most Mexicans are highly Mediterranean European, and people in Northern America are highly Northwestern European, primarily British descent, Irish descent, Swedish descent, and even Germanic descent. You get what I'm saying? They were genetically far off, bro.
Irish now, Ngozi, if you speak to the Irish now, they would say they're not British. If you look outside of them, what I'm trying to say is when you look outside of them.
But Waza, here's the thing about the Gaelic-speaking Irish.
That's Fitzy.
That's not Waza, yo.
a beast.
Wilding
I
traumatized the show.
Right.
was gonna say the Gaelic speaking Irish and the British, which is sent from the Britons, and even the Scottish, they are all the same genetically and even within their layers, their late stratum of Indo-European that they speak, even though they're distinct. That's a totally different situation compared to the Sudanese and the ancient Egyptians. You get what
No,
I'm saying?
I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying the outlook. If they look at it, if we went to look at them, we would look at them as being very close to each other. But if you spoke to them,
No,
and they wouldn't look like, they would tell you they're completely different. I'm
no, they
over it.
wouldn't
I'm
look at
telling
that.
you that.
They wouldn't look at that. They wouldn't look at that. The Egyptians and the Nubians would not look at that.
So let me ask you
Who's
this,
that?
Fitz. Do
Who's
you
that
think that
talking?
the Egyptians in Egypt, or do you think that they are a new population?
At first, I
What-
used to believe that
As
there was a new
what
population,
do you mean?
That's a good
What do you
question.
mean, Chef? What
but
do you mean
they're
a new
not. They're the same
population?
people who has always been
Hold
Yeah.
on,
Sweet
Supi.
pea.
Let Fitz
Stupid.
go in.
Relax.
there.
Let me hear what Chef's saying. Chef, what do you mean by a new set of people?
So if you think that the Sudanese people in ancient times looked at like the ancient Egyptians, right? At that early time, then you must believe that the population in Egypt now is the result of an invading population. Is that what you believe?
Yeah, of
See,
course.
here is the
Yeah.
problem. This is the problem that meshing them together, it creates this. You're gonna have to pick that they are invaders. You're gonna have to pick it. That's the conundrum that they put you
No,
in.
but what's the issue, Chef? What I'm gathering,
Because the science
is that
say
what
that those Egyptians that you feel as though are invaders, that they are indigenous African, that they always been there. So y'all got to
no,
deal with
Chef,
that.
timeline. Chef, what about the timeline?
Always
You
been
can't
there.
just
Always been
no,
there.
they
What
haven't
time?
always.
What's the
They
What
haven't
timeline?
always
timeline do
been
you
there.
need? They
What?
always
All
been
right.
there.
What you're
Hold
talking
on,
to me
I
about?
missed
What?
his
Can I
stance.
say something? Let me finish, Chef.
Hold
Chef,
on,
let me
repeat
answer
it.
you.
Hold
Let
on,
me
Fitz.
just
Hold on.
answer,
Oh,
Chef.
Fitz,
Let
I
me
just
just
came
answer
back.
him quickly.
Hold on, just
Let
let
me
me ask
just
you a question
answer
real
him
quick
quickly.
because I missed your stance. Repeat your stance so I can know where you are on that. What do you think? I missed it. You said invaders are like change population. Which one?
They're
What
not.
do you think?
They're not the same. Then what Chef is basically saying. I get what Chef's saying. The timeline is important here, Chef. Are you talking about these people that are there now built the pyramids? Because that's where we're going back to.
Yeah.
That time, the
Yeah.
pyramids time.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
No, that is not the same. No, no, Chef.
They not
They're
the
not the
same
same
people. So
people.
who the people who built the
No,
pyramids? Tell me.
they came at least 2,000 years after them.
So who are the people? Now you got to tell me who are the people that built the pyramids in Giza? Because the pyramids are it's in Cairo, right? It's in Cairo. So who are the people who built the pyramids and what happened to them? Go.
I'm
You just
waiting.
said it. They got invaded by this new population that's come along.
No, where
They
they
got
go though?
taken out
Where
long time before this population we see here now.
So
Steph,
they
no, where did
all
they
of them were
go
Chef,
wiped
though?
out.
They got invaded, but where they at though?
what do you mean where they at?
What happened to them?
I mean, yeah,
You're
what
saying they
happened?
killed them all. You're saying they wiped
Oh,
genocide.
they killed them all.
No, they didn't kill them all, but there's been so much. You got to realize how much the Mediterranean overtook that part of Africa because it's so close. So they've been in and out of there till that the indigenous population what was there has been dispersed. You wouldn't see them there. The trace of them is not there now.
And this is why we argue so hard
Yeah,
against
they don't even see that
Egyptomania.
shit.
This
That's
is
crazy.
why, right? This is why we argue, and I hope Unc is
Shepherd.
listening in. I hope
No,
Unc
no,
is
no,
Cause this
listening
what he
in
taught. This
no,
because
what the
no, no,
this
Shepherd.
what the
because
this
audience
is
Can
what
I say
this
something?
breeds.
Go
Can I say something,
you
please?
know what we just did. We just went from a whole conversation that was rooted in some science, and we had an exhibit, all this information that was basically talking about some information to a
do funny,
claim
brother.
that hasn't been substantiated or anything. Now we're
Right.
talking about dispelling
But
Hey, yo,
Brendan,
people.
hey,
Brendan,
Reggie
you
Remember
put
that?
that
Reggie
Remember
did
that?
it
shit
Hold
last
on,
on.
night though.
hold on, hold on.
It
hey,
was
Can I say,
hold
hey,
on,
Jeffrey, Jeffrey,
hold
Hey,
on.
can I say
we're talking
something?
about
This is what
Reggie
dispelling
they
presented.
arguing for,
populations.
though.
We're talking about all this stuff that had nothing to do with the exhibit or the science that we
Right.
were talking
But
about
but
last
look
night.
but look, Brendan, the source came from Reggie that Unc
Hey,
read. And then after Unc read it, Reggie said that the Egyptians that are there now are part of an invading population that enslaved and pushed the black Egyptians out of there. So that's
Reggie
what
is
I'm
gonna have to
saying.
hey,
come stand on that.
They
If you
hey,
come
merged
out
their
the
shit
window with
together.
it, he's
hey,
gonna have to
chef,
come
hey,
out and
chef, hey,
stand
chef,
on
but
that.
but
hey,
chef,
hey,
can I say
let me say
something,
something real
please?
quick. Let me say something real quick. I want to say, in the first place, you got to be careful when we just grouping Sudanese as one group. They was different people. Like if you're dealing with like even the Nubian C group wasn't the same as the Nubian A group and B group. You know what I'm saying? The Nubian C group was a different Afro-Asiatic, you know what I'm saying, group that probably would have been, you know what I'm saying, not quite as mixed as the Egyptians was, but more closely related to the Egyptians. You know what I'm saying? But you also had
All right.
Nilo-Saharian groups around there, and you also had Cadopian speakers. Right? You had different, various different tribes. It ain't just one Sudanese. Like northeast of Sudan ain't the same as Western Sudan, South Sudan, or Central Sudan. You got different regions, and areas, and tribes. It's not a monolith.
I agree.
But question, Jeffrey. All
Mhm.
right. If we bring up the globe, Egypt, I said this already, and I go say it again. Egypt lies on the 30th degree latitude north. If we go around the world and see the countries that lies on the 30th degree latitude, let's go to Texas. Let's go to where the Mexicans are. Look at their complexion. We're using the skin map. Let's go to Afghanistan. Let's go to North China. Let's look at the complexion of all the peoples around the world who lies on the 30th parallel. Do they have the complexion of the Egyptians or do they have the complexions of the Nubians? They have the complexion of the Egyptians.
Man,
If you use Unk skin map, so therefore that is not us.
and even those Homo sapiens that was in that delta or in Egypt, they were still very similar to the population outside of Africa. Those non-Africans that migrated out of Africa split through Egypt or northern Sudan. They were distinct from people in sub-Saharan Africa. So again, this is why Razip said on the show with Garfield when I asked him, and I did that on purpose. He said the organisms in the Middle East and in North Africa going backwards and forward was very similar. So even if we do embrace the toxinous North African component, especially in that area, they were still similar to the population in the Near East. That's why it's better to call them MENA, Middle East North African. That's what they are. That's just what they are.
And I see what you got on the screen there, Chef. And I mentioned earlier, hey, you got to be careful with the overreach. You're gonna have to substantiate that, right?
Yeah,
But
What's on the map?
but
Because
that's
what's on
Reggie.
the screen?
brother. But
What's on
that's
the
brother
screen? Because I
Reggie.
can't see.
He says
QP,
What's on the screen?
the modern population of Egyptians are an invading population. That's
But
brother Reggie.
Yep.
So
I mean,
Stoopy, what do you mean
we
by
have to
us?
substantiate that.
let me ask all y'all a question on here. Let me ask all y'all a question on here. We're Newark, right? We're African American. I call us Newark, New World African American Creole.
I like
A
that
lot of
term.
us power to a peace, King. I'm glad. I identify as New World African American Creole, Newark, right? So let me ask y'all a question. So we have an ethnic group, which is New World African American Creole and Newark people, or African American. We identify as Africans because we descend from Western Central African, but we have 10 to 15% Northwestern European, and some of us got 30% European. That's what comes with the game, with the creolization of who we are, right? So here's the next question. We speak an Indo-European language called English, but we got our own vernacular of it. In linguistics or in school, they call it AABE, which is African American Vernacular English. Our own dialects of it, Ebonics. Some people call it Ebonics. So even with modern Egyptians, even though they're culturally Egyptian Arabic, they have a dialect of their own Arabic. It's called Egyptian Arabic. Just like the Moroccans have their own dialect of Arabic, it's called Moroccan Arabic. Just like we got our own dialect of English, which is called AABE, African American Vernacular English. And it differs based off the region or what state we in America. We have different layers of it. Like down south, the brothers in Memphis say, "What up, man?" Down here in Chicago, we be like, "What up, yo? What am?" Down there in other parts, we say different things. And then you go into the Caribbean or closer to Carolina, they got the Gullah Geechee language where most of the African languages intact. So we have our own vernacular of English. So here's the thing. We have our own ethnic group, which is Nuance, African American. Racially, we're identified as black or Negro or whatever. The same thing with continental Africans. But with the Egyptians, it's a very similar situation. Modern Egyptians. They have their own vernacular of Arabic, which is called Egyptian Arabic. And they can range at only 20 to 15% Arabic. 68% to 70% of the autosomal DNA is consistent. And it's been consistent. So are we gonna say that we're not African because we have our own ethnic group, our own new ethnic group that's been formed within the last 236 years? Are we gonna denounce ourselves from being African? So if we're gonna play that game and say the modern Egyptians aren't the ancient Egyptians, people can say that we ain't African. We wouldn't like that. You know what I'm saying?
It goes here.
I'm just saying we gotta be fair. We gotta keep it 100, yo.
That's a reach. We're all African, regardless, but we know what we mean culturally. We're not talking
we ain't talking culture.
My brother. Though culturally, we're no longer Yoruba. We're no longer Igbo. We're no longer Mindi. We all, especially all of us, the Africans and the Caribbeans and the Africans all through North America, the diaspora, whatever. We have our own unique cultures that we develop independently. I call it an exterior African culture because we formed this shit out of the New World, out of survival.
But where is the foundation of that culture? Where did that foundation start, and where is it coming from?
Well, for us, okay, I'm going to delineate right now. For us in North America, our shit started in the Carolinas and in fucking Virginia. For us, that's the foundation. This is the only place where you can find a damn Fulani breeding with a Yoruba, and a Yoruba and a nigga from the Congo breeding with a goddamn nigga from Senegal, all combined together in the backyards of Carolina and Virginia. That's the foundation of us in this new world. Other layers and other components in later time, New Orleans, and they got ties to Benin. All that. So what I'm saying is that represents us in this new world, right? That's us. Now, when it comes to you, brother, I don't know what part of the Caribbean you're from.
Jamaica.
But it's the same situation for different times. Okay, you're from Jamaica. That was a British colony. So you know the game. You know what happened with Jamaica. So what I'm saying is that we have an exterior African culture, and that's the same thing.
Definitely. I agree with you on that one. We have our own culture. We've built our own culture, but this is, this this is part of a trait of human evolution. So wherever we're gonna fit in where we got to and make our own. So I get that.
So when it comes to the Egyptians, there was not enough people in the population with these Arabs, if you deal with it, to overtake or overdrive the indigenous people. All they did is got absorbed in an ongoing population that was already there. So just because the Egyptians are culturally Arab, they have their own uniqueness to being Arab. If you look up the dialect of Arabic that the Egyptians speak, it's called Egyptian Arabic. Now, the population outside of the Egyptian Arabs is the Coptics. The Coptics were able to keep on a major, stronger ancient Egyptian component in it, but it's been filtered by the Ptolemaic period because they're Christians. So it has a high Greek influence. So we have to deal with Egypt. We have to deal with Egypt in phases. That's why chronology is very important.
I agree with that. You know what the problem is here? What I think what Chef mostly is pushing is that the indigenous they're not indigenous. The population that are there now is the people that were there 3,000 to 4,000 years ago and built the pyramids. That's where the contention is.
So
now,
let me say something. Let me say
cognitive dissonance.
I'm gonna tell you that they are. You know why? Because the population, the genetics of the people that was building those bricks and putting that shit together is still in those people. In genetics, they call it the Coptic component. Now the nomenclature may be faulty because the Coptic component only ranges or starts between 3,500 years. But layers within that Coptic component, especially with the mitochondrial DNA,
this is where the semantics come in. We're not talking genetics as such.
We're talking about
the culture. Listen. We're talking about the culture. You're still gonna get reminiscences of them there, yeah. But we're talking about the indigenous the population that came and changed the whole of that.
You gotta stop. You gotta stop, yo.
Let me ask you a question.
It has nothing to do with culture. We talk about indigenous people. It has absolutely nothing to do with culture.
Let me ask you a question, my brother from Jamaica. You as a Jamaican, you embrace your ancient Ghanaian genetic ties, right? Don't you think the genetics that you carry as a Jamaican is very important in Ghana and played a major role with ancient Ghana? You don't believe that?
I believe that.
Absolutely. And are you going to denounce your genetic signatures that you still have in Ghana, even though you live in a new world and you're, a Creole brother yourself in the Jamaican portion of the world? But at the end of the day, your genetic signature still has strong ties to Ghana. You're not going to denounce that because you're somewhere else, right? See, deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, we can't throw out DNA, regardless to, even though that culture is distinct now, the DNA that those people carry is still within them, regardless to how the component ranges. It may range in some of them at 10%, and in some of them it may range at 70%. But what I'm saying is that it's still there. So even though those late additions were inserted into those areas and they got absorbed in, we can't say that they were pushed out anywhere because they wasn't. It's no
I'm not
record.
saying that, Ngozi. We're not saying that, Ngozi. We're not saying that. I'm trying to say to you that the population that we class as building the pyramids is not the population what's there now. Now, we're not saying that the genetic markers cannot be found. You must be found it all over the world. But I'm talking about the people that actually made them pyramids are not the indigenous population that out there now. That's all I'm saying.
You talking crazy. You just
Okay.
repeated it.
Don't you carry the genetics that built the strong civilization in ancient Ghana, though? I mean, even though you've been misplaced and we've been taken outside of our zones, but don't you still part of that, regardless of what you think?
I'm a part of that. I'm never going to deny that.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is,
it's not an issue for me.
No,
All right, let's get to the crust of this. Ngozi, this is why I say semantics. Let me say this, Ngozi. The reason why I say semantics is because if you listen to the position of Chef and the rest of and maybe Chief X, what they're trying to say is that a new culture, and we're not talking DNA, we're talking culturally here in a sense.
We got a new culture. We got a new culture.
Yeah?
We have a new culture as well.
The new culture, what was there now, is what was there and built the pyramids. Now
But everybody know that the Muslims did not build the pyramids. It wasn't even their religion. That don't even make sense. Right? Come on.
My bro, we got a new culture, but we're not gonna denounce
what he's basically saying is that it wasn't an indigenous African culture that built it.
We know Muslims was not. Listen, we know Muslims was not worshiping ISIS and motherfucking Osiris. We're not saying that, yo. Come on.
It comes down to the culture then that built it. Isn't that true? You can't. In DNA is so sporadic.
Let's throw our DNA right quick. Let's talk about cultures again. We have a new culture in a new world. But we have ties with Yoruba people and people in Ghana, but we got a new culture. Our culture is our culture. The culture that we have now is not the culture that we once had 300 years ago or 400 years ago. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
But you're not, even though you have a new culture, you still embrace the older cultures that you descend from. You still embrace it, correct? Even though you have a new culture today.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it okay for us to do it, but when a modern Egyptian say, see, I get what you're trying to say. I'm not saying you because I may be wrong, but I think the problem is the lookership because they don't look like what some people believe an African should look like. This is what makes people be like, oh no, they're not the original people. But what I'm here to say
is, that's what I'm not going on lookership, because as I said, the ancient Egyptians, they had all ranges of colors there. You've got to go by the skin color map then if you want to go off of that. Yeah, but I'm not going off of that. We're talking culturally. When you talk to Chief X is saying that, and I don't know if Chef's saying this, but he's saying culturally, yes, another country, another set of the population that are there now came in and were there to build the pyramids and stuff.
I'm gonna tell you like this.
It wasn't an indigenous African culture what came from south. He's not saying that. He's saying they came from across the waters maybe. And they were the ones who built the Egyptian,
So
what we see today as the pyramids and stuff.
right.
That's
So
what his argument is.
okay.
Yeah, okay,
So
but
hold
so
on.
that
Let me
culture
tell him.
changed.
No, let me
Go ahead,
tell
Sean.
him. Because
Go
if
ahead.
that's what you get from anything that I said, then you're deliberately trying to misinterpret. You're deliberately not trying to hear what I'm saying. So I can't
Okay,
even. You know what I mean? I can't do
tell him,
nothing with.
chef. Tell him,
I
chef.
can't. I
No,
can't.
but
I
that's what
can't do
Q-Tex is
nothing with
saying.
that. So I
That's what
cannot.
Q-Tex is saying.
I never even heard him say that. So I can't do nothing with what you're saying. Like
You didn't
because
hear him say that. You didn't hear him say that Queen Ty and Tutankhamun were
he was
Europeans.
talking about their genetics, where their genetics trace back to. That's what he was talking about. Like he know that they're culturally that they practice in Egyptian culture. We know that they were
Is that not
in
Culturally, they
African
were North
culture?
African.
no
North African.
he was showing that that these back migrations actually happened because it showed up in these people's DNA. That's all they're saying. But niggas is creating straw man arguments to argue with people. And somebody in the chat said it. They make this straw man off of something you said, then they knock it down, and then they say, "I got you." You feel me? Like with the whole Mediterranean thing. By us saying that it was a Mediterranean culture, they say, no, the culture was started in the South. And then once they prove that the culture was started in the South, they think they just knocked down that it was a Mediterranean culture. They create a straw man off of something that you said, they knock it down, then they say,
Chef,
we won the conversation. Crazy. Y'all
chef, I
doing
would
this on
never say
purpose.
no, chef. I would never say it wasn't a Mediterranean culture, but that doesn't mean it wasn't. It's not in Africa. Mediterranean culture. They don't mean that it's culturally from the Mediterranean. They're
Yeah,
talking
no,
about the
You could
yeah,
never
region.
no one,
over explain
no
that
one,
to me.
yeah, yeah, no one never said that. Everybody on here
Oh,
knows that those North African countries, even though it was Mediterranean trades and it's in the Mediterranean, yes, that part of the Mediterranean is part of North Africa. If you look at
yes,
Mediterranean countries, North
exactly.
Africa is included.
And there's nothing you
It
can do
doesn't mean
about
it.
that. It's nothing
Yeah,
you
it's labeled
Egyptomaniacs
and
can do about that. That's
it's
geography.
labeled.
Talk to God
It's
about
labeled
that.
American. I get that, but it's labeled, it's just a term. If you go to any one of the people that even constructed the term Mediterranean culture, they would say that it doesn't mean it's from the Mediterranean. It's in the Mediterranean.
Right.
A,
That's what
a lot, a lot of the I'm sorry, go ahead, Shepton. I cut your wisdom, King.
I mean, even that is up for debate because if you look at the Phoenician civilization, you could literally that ancient Carthage, right? Definitely on the Mediterranean and was a Mediterranean civilization right there on the Mediterranean in Africa. So it goes back and forth. Y'all making definitive statements that you really can't make. It is what it is. And I rest my case.
But
Yeah,
I've never made that
Shefford,
statement, Chef.
hold on.
Have you
Shefford,
ever heard me make
where's
that
Cyprus?
statement, Chef?
Oh, my
Where's the
bad.
island of Cyprus? The
Huh?
island of Cyprus. How far away from the island of Cyprus?
Cyprus, right.
Which is in the middle of the Mediterranean. How
You know,
far away
you know,
from Egypt?
It's one even closer. You can look at the island of Malta.
and,
but
all,
Malta.
Chef,
Yeah, look at
all those
Malta.
all those Mediterranean people, North Africa, Southern Europe, the Eastern Mediterranean, and Anatolia, they always were trading. They always were breeding. They always were going backwards and forward. The climate is the same. You know,
Right.
those early North Africans were very distinct from a lot of our other ancestors that autosomally that was stayed in tropical sub-Saharan Africa. We already know that haplogroup E came from the north or the Middle East and inserted itself south. But we ain't talking about that. That's a long time ago. But at the end of the day, the diets, if you study the ancient Egyptian diet, and you study a lot of the people that's in Western, they had a different diet. Their immunities is different. Their physical physique was different. It's a whole lot of different things that separate them from the population south. I mean, it's just a fact. And that Mediterranean world have been trading with one another, breeding with one another for a long time.
from the pyramid times, from the pyramid times.
Even before the pyramids, even before Narmer unified Upper and Lower Egypt, you had people back migrating in Africa as early as 23,000 to 30,000 years ago. And people can't get past that. People have been going in and out of Africa for a long time. So we look at
Well,
it. We look at a continent.
we know that though, Ngozi. That's part of, we know that. That's how Europe got. We know this, but I'm trying to say, did they have the influences? What Chief X is saying? They
No. I mean, yeah. Oh, yes. They influence. Africans influence the Near East, and the Near East influence Africa. There's a lot of things that don't come from Africa that Africans have that comes from the Middle East, and then you have some elements from the Middle East that was influenced by earlier North Africans.
Right.
Human beings are going to influence one another.
We know that, the back and forth, but we're talking about major civilizations here now. So we're saying that
You're looking at it
that
wrong.
they had the influence on the pyramids and
Hold on. We're gonna have to accept,
plateau.
and we're gonna have to accept in this community, right, that Africa, right, is a part of the ancient world. It wasn't cut off from everybody else. North Africa and East Africa was connected to Asia from time immemorial. There is no force field around Africa that separated it from the rest of the goddamn world. And whoever taught us this then did us a disservice. So when I read this article from the Cambridge and it's talking
I
about,
know who taught us that.
hold on. When we read this article from the Cambridge and it's talking about Egypt in this African context, right? It is crazy to me because it's acting like Egypt wasn't connected to the rest of the fucking world. And it was. So his influences came from many different places, or his people came from many different places that made up that culture and those peoples of North Africa and East Africa. The same way, the same way that Western Asia, like Ngozi was said, was influenced by Africa, and East Africa was influenced by Western Asia. How do we know? How do we know? Because we have their tool assemblages, right?
Chef
Go ahead.
what inspired the pyramids, and where did that come from?
Oh, I can give you an answer to that. That comes from populations in the Sahara, the Tamulis. But here's the thing:
Is
the
that
people
not south? Is that not south?
No. Look though, King. South don't mean nothing because you had.
I'm just saying
Thank
the
you.
major influences. We can see it. The biggest statue in Egypt is a pyramid.
Here's the thing, though, King. Let's talk about the Nubian A group right quick. They were distinct from the Nubian C group. So what I'm saying is that you still had strong Eurasian components even in the South. Those early basal Eurasians that back migrated, they still was it's still listen, before a pyramid was built, even in the Green Sahara, you had certain genetic signatures that
Already
was from
there.
outside of the continent.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the domestication of the goat and some of the pheasant cave art, goats are not from Africa, but you see them there. You see certain elements that come from the Near East.
But I'm saying, where does the influence come for the major, for what Egypt is built around? Yes,
You can't
the
start at the
pyramids.
pyramids though, brother, because you can't build a pyramid without
I'm not
farming.
starting there. I'm not starting there. I'm getting to the crust. I'm getting to the crust of it. So let me say this. Let me say this.
I'm trying to explain to you. In order to build pyramids, you have to have a stable enough population base to even build pyramids. How do you
I'm not saying that. I'm not arguing against that, Sosa. What I'm trying to say to you is what Chief X is saying. Yes.
You didn't even let me
Do you want to debate Chief X?
And you, Chef, you're saying it as well, Chef. You are saying it as well. Yes.
Saying what? What am I saying?
You're saying the influence.
You're asking for examples of influence and then moving on to another area.
We can see how culture. We can see how culture shift. Listen, America that was established in 1776 to now. America is how old? The world America that we live in. It's about what, 236 years old. That's about it, right? And the foundation of New World America is West Africans that were kidnapped and Northwestern Europeans. That's what it is, and some Native American elements. With us coming together, regardless if some people were enslaved, the blacks, we still played a role in America. We fought in every war. We put in work to help establish it. We are part of the backbone of the New World America, just like the Northwestern European is. Anything before that, a lot of things we developed independently here. We developed things here that we did not develop in Africa. The white people over here developed certain things here that they did not develop in Europe. You know what I'm saying? And we have to embrace the newness of things. So when it comes to Egypt, this is how I'm trying to get to a point. Even if those people in the Sahara or pre-Sahara Egypt did develop shit there, it doesn't mean that their ancestors in some layers did not come from nowhere else. We see that with the New World here. So yeah, a lot of things were developed independently in the Nile, but that doesn't mean that some of their layers of ancestors didn't come from earlier predecessors from outside of that continent, because we can't disregard the back migration at all.
I never disagree with any of that, Ngozi. I do not disagree with it. All I was trying to say to you is the crust of what we were trying to get to is the major civilization in Egypt. What influenced them? And we see it evolves around the pyramids and that Gaza plateau. That is a major height of Egypt.
I'm saying you're starting at the pyramids, and you got to keep going backwards.
All right,
Bro.
well, let's go further back. Let's even go further back.
No,
Then,
no,
Sosa.
no.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Let's
you
go
got
further back.
Let them
Let's
have the
go further back.
pyramids.
You gotta look. You
The
keep saying it, but
pyramids
you
are
gotta
in the
go.
north, so you
You
can
gotta
have the
look at the goddamn
pyramids.
farming.
All right, let's go further back. Where did the influence come from for the beginning of
Farming,
that?
nigga,
The whole of
goddamn.
it.
How many times I gotta keep saying this shit? Like you just talking over it. Like you look at the farming that comes down. Look at the trade that comes down. The cattle, the sheep. You know what I'm saying?
Where?
So
From where, Sosa?
sheep doesn't. sheep is outside of Africa, bro. That's what Goldie was explaining to you about the sheep. But you're talking over certain points and not really trying to grasp what's being said. So when you see elements from the Near
You
East,
see all
you
of
know
that,
that it's
Sosa.
either.
I'm not arguing with that. I'm
All right,
really
well,
not
go ahead,
arguing
bro.
with that.
Go ahead.
I'm agreeing with it. That's why maybe I'm talking over it. Because I'm agreeing with it.
Now, if
That's
you
not
agree
what I
with
was
it,
trying to
then
get
why are
to.
you still asking for influence?
Peace to the architect. I see you in the here. What's up?
What up, Brandon? Peace to everybody on the
For
panel.
sure.
Hey, Sosa,
Yeah.
you pay your uncle $100?
Yeah. All right, I know it's bullshit, but I ain't tripping on that.
Oh, I got the time markers. Uncle lied, man. The argument wasn't that Africa independently developed agriculture in some parts of Africa. The argument was where did agriculture start?
Right, and how to get to Egypt. I know. I already know.
I got the time markers. I went back and watched the whole shit.
Even the source we brought out, like he was saying, it changed the academic. It did.
Nah,
Those
it started. It originates in the Near East or Middle East, but West Africa independently developed it 3000 BC.
Yeah, and I think Christopher Ayers is arguing for like an earlier period, but like I said, those are people making different arguments and they're challenging certain things, but the standard is still the standard.
Yeah, it's the consensus.
Yeah. So.
Hey, fellas, let me know when I can ask Ngozi a clarifying question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm right here. Go ahead.
Hey, peace, brother. So I just in terms of genetic studies, right? We know they're technical, they're difficult in terms of that. It's multidisciplinary, right? Even if you look at like people that do like anthropologists and archaeologists, they say, how can we trust genetic studies? We don't know which databases to trust. We don't understand a lot about it, right? I wanted to ask you in terms of just to clarify for the question, just for these conversations we're having, it's like, what are the value of the genetic studies when we're talking about history, right? Because we always hear is like, okay, well, we can't use DNA, we can't use genetics in these conversations, right?
Why not?
Just from you, I want to know. He's like, okay, well, give us some insight there, right?
Hold on, hey Reggie, I just made you the co-host. I need you to hold it down for a second. I'm about to
and
run
it's
away
right
from the
on
mic.
time because Brother Reggie's in the house.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. Me, I use genetics. I'm not going throwing out genetics. I use genetics, archaeology, and anthropology because when it comes to haplogroups, deep ancestral lineage, that goes unchanged. Paternal markers does not your Y chromosome does not recombine when it comes to DNA, so it tells you a deep ancestral lineage of where certain people come from. Then I also mix it with the culture. I got to get involved with the archaeology. I have to understand the diet, and I also have to deal with the anthropology of the skeleton that's been found. I don't throw none of that out. Some people just want to deal with what they want to deal with to have an argument. I study the languages and all that. So for me, genetics is very important, even though the DNA has been sequenced only between 2002 and 2003, and then they just remodified it even better. I think last year from 2002 and 2003, it's going to go further and tell an even better story dealing with DNA because it's only advancing. So I try to deal with DNA. I'm not going to say throw out DNA. I can't. I can't do that. I don't think anybody should do that.
Yeah,
If you
I
see,
agree with that. I agree with that.
DNA makes you what you are. It's
yeah,
the foundation. That's what you're born with. Everything else is an
absolutely.
add-on. Hey,
Yeah,
Reggie.
and culture, before you go in, brother. I don't know. Let me just say this before you
Go
go
ahead,
in, brother.
go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead,
what
bro.
up? Okay, Peace King. I was just gonna say, culture can change, but when it comes to DNA, you know what I'm saying, or your deep ancestral lineage, or even these little haplogroups that scientists believe makes up less than 1% of your DNA, but it still details the story of your deep ancestral lineage that goes unchanged. So just because you have a culture today doesn't mean that where did these cultures come from? If these people have genetic signatures, why is it here? You can't disregard DNA, but culture can change. Just like us, for example, we're Nuance people, New World African American Creole. I'm gonna keep saying that. Or African Americans. This is a new culture that we have here today. This is something that we formed based off what we've been through. But our DNA tells another story. It has a deep ancestral ties back home to the West and Central Africa. And before that, other layers of that can even go further back to other places, but that's another story. You get what I'm saying?
I'd like to
Yeah,
add on
for
to
sure,
that
for
when I
sure.
get a chance. I don't know who's next,
Go, go
but
ahead.
after
I'm
there,
gonna go on mute.
Go
Go ahead,
ahead,
brother
Mike.
Corey. I'm done.
What's going on, Mike?
I'm good,
Mike,
man. How you guys doing?
peace,
Corey,
Mike.
what
Yeah,
up?
I think that the DNA is the most reliable
The most.
source to use at this point, and the most scientific. And as I've said before on previous forums, that there's enough information that's been put out just on you guys' platform to really determine and answer all these questions. It's just whether or not people want to submit to that, what's been put out. And if they want to do that, they can do that and reach a conclusion. But I think that pride has to get out of the way, and whatever the ulterior motives are need to be set aside. And I think everybody can kind of come together and coalesce around, a concept.
Hey,
It's
Reggie.
them ulterior motives, though.
Reggie,
Yep.
did you ever address that article I put up about the North African DNA? You said you would. I don't know if you ever did.
It would be in my. It will. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Peace,
can hear you.
brother. Peace, brother Reggie.
All right.
So,
Peace.
Reggie, you ready to answer that question then, right? Today.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah. But
hey,
I'm not. I'm not going to answer it in whole on this show. I am going to another platform to answer it, and then we can come
That's
back.
cold blooded, Reggie.
I don't
That's
mind
cold
as long
blooded.
as long as it gets
Hey,
answered.
listen. I mean, I'm a researcher, and if I have to spend hours on a presentation, I appreciate the pseudo killers, but I listen. I appreciate Brandon, and I appreciate all of you. But if I have to spend hours of taking away from what I'm trying to do to make money, I'd rather go on Sarnetta's show where I have started many of these conversations anyway. All of the intellectual work started on social media on Sarnetta's channel with my work. So I've been on a number of different channels over the last 7 to 8 years. But if I have to pay a bill, or if I want to reach a large audience as an educator, I'm not being cold blooded. I'm being sensible. So the question
Reggie.
is, Chief. Sorry, Architect.
Throw your cash app in there, Reggie. Throw your
No,
cash app
listen.
before you go to teaching. Before you start teaching, put your cash app
No,
in there.
it doesn't matter. Listen. This show, I put my cash app for all the work. Sheffrin was nice enough to have me put my cash app in, and I made about $100. And sometimes I give money back. So some people give me some money, but if I've seen that they give me money before, and the rest of the people don't give me money, I give those people who support me, like Brendan, I'll send him money back, right? So
Right?
let's just deal with some of the issues.
Yeah, but for the people that want to support now, you should put your cash app in there because people do want to support
Listen, y'all think
you today.
I'm pseudo. I'll put my cash
No,
app.
right.
I think
Regardless
you're
if I
pseudo, Reggie. I
think
won't
you're
lie to
pseudo
you.
or not,
I
I
definitely
think
think
you're
you're pseudo.
pseudo, but I still
Yeah.
want to support you.
Yeah,
So
X
that's
thinks
why.
you're pseudo.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Reggie, I ain't gonna lie to you.
See, this is the issue. See, this
Hey,
is a
Reggie.
very serious conversation that we can kind of have anecdotally and kind of playfully, but the implications of this conversation are
It's very
very
serious.
deep and serious.
Because it's fundamental.
It is.
It's fundamental. I don't know. How
and
does
that's
all
why
of the...
One at a time.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why the conversation keeps coming up. I believe I was watching a broadcast the other day. I believe it was Brother Wujalu who asked a question about whether or not we can kind of end the conversation or do we have to keep bringing it up. Well, it keeps coming up because it's not settled, and we understand the seriousness of the conversation, the implications. Now, just from a fascination standpoint, just from a wanting to learn history standpoint, then maybe on surface level,
1 more minute.
it's maybe not that serious, just 10 more seconds. But for the deep impact that it's had on our people who have always struggled with the who we are question since we've been here, this is a serious conversation that doesn't need to be played with.
You know what this reminds me of? Evolution versus religious ideas. After all the evidence has been presented to debunk one and to establish the other, the argument just keeps coming back.
Right.
And prior, I was the one that started this whole conversation. Not even to toot my own horn, but you can ask Chef and everybody. I started this whole conversation. I was the first person to tell everybody that the North Africans aren't Africans in the same manner that transgender women ain't women. I was the first person to say that shit. It started from the us having a discussion about the Afro-Asiatic language family. It was me, Unc, and Asar. Asar was saying that
2 more minutes.
2 more minutes for what?
To talk.
Oh no, I was just throwing that out there. But Reggie, did you at least review the material that I put up or no?
Yeah, I did.
And what did you think about it? I'm not asking you to actually give a presentation or anything like that, but could you reduce your understanding down to like a statement?
Sure. Cambridge Elements. Cambridge Elements dealt with the question in the third volume, the one that purchased.
Say it again. Cambridge what?
Cambridge Elements.
What is that? Cambridge Elements.
Well, I think everybody else knows. I don't think that you've been watching the show.
No, I haven't.
Okay, good. So it's already been dealt with. See, are you finished? So
I'm listening to you.
So I can have my 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, you gonna present something, Reggie? You about to present
I thought you were responding to what I asked you.
Yeah, I responded. I responded. Why does it have to be long and drawn out? I said Cambridge Elements dealt with the article.
X, I'm gonna put the articles in the chat if you want to take a look at them.
Cambridge. I mean, here's the funny thing is, everybody is putting up the Cambridge Elements now. The only person who actually we actually know purchased the book is Ankh, and I purchased the article. So and I've written Cambridge Elements to ask if I can if I can use the 2 or 3 pages. So that's why I'm waiting for them. If they don't respond, then I guess that they said okay. But I did ask them if I can use the chapters. So because I don't want the platform to be striked and I don't want to be sued. But so Cambridge Elements dealt with it. So that's my short answer. So
you said they dealt with it?
Huh?
You said Cambridge Elements dealt with the article that I put on the
dealt with the They dealt with the data. See, the problem with the problem is, I mean, Cambridge the article to put up, I forgot if it's 216 or 219. It's an old study.
No. This is the one I put up was the one Unc gave me. Was the one that Unc put up to debunk me, which in turn actually supported me.
They always owe it if they didn't happen today.
They
always got something that happened today.
No, it's cool.
Let Reggie finish. Go ahead, Reggie.
Okay.
Go ahead, Reggie.
The thing is, okay, so
Corey.
Go ahead, Reggie. Go ahead, Reggie.
That was yesterday. That's old. That shit's outdated, man. Shit.
So
Go
Reggie,
ahead, Reggie. I'm sorry. I be having outbursts.
No, it's
I
all
think
right.
I got something wrong with me, man.
It's all right.
Reggie, is your
Okay.
position that it's outdated?
So let me just let me just respond that that the data has already been responded to, and what scholars do is that they look at material that was posted, and then they either they debunk it or they add comments on it. And so the scientific data on a percentage of DNA of sub-Saharan people in North Africa, that has been that has been debunked.
Hold on, what do you mean by that?
We'll get to that. I'll just say for now
Can you
that
make that statement? Can you make that statement one more time?
2020 that a 2020 on the 2020 edition of Cambridge Elements debunked that. It also debunked something that I got into an argument with Brother Garfield on the strontium data of the Hyksos. Cambridge Elements came back and debunked that too. So,
Reggie, did you see the information about the Nubian the Nubian queen that was a Hyksos? Did you see that? that was a part of the Hyksos kingdom. Did you see that?
yeah, that because populations
They
yeah.
they
Well,
integrate. They integrate.
If you could put it up so I can make sure that I've seen it.
It's in the first one. It's in the first series.
Yeah.
It's a lot of integration between these cultures.
Yeah.
You got. I tell you, I keep saying
I didn't buy the
you have
first.
to read those. Yeah, you have to read all of those series.
I
man.
didn't buy
It's
it,
a
but
lot.
it does make sense. At one time, the Hyksos were as part of the ancient Egyptian empire, right? The Hyksos conquered Egypt, and that they was part of ancient Egypt. And when they conquered ancient Egypt, or the lower part of ancient Egypt, right? Then we have different groups of people. We have different people coming into it, and prior to that, in the Delta region, we had lots of Canaanites in there, and we've had Canaanites in ancient Egypt since the Old Kingdom, and then it went chaotic in the first intermediate period. So you that would not surprise me. That would not, and the intermixing does not surprise me. It does, and so it's always good to be sharp. But listen, I'm here for a couple of reasons. One is I disagree with Ngozi, and I don't disagree with Ngozi, but I disagree with Ngozi about looking at the modern Arabs that are in Egypt right now, and they are yes, they have some ancient Egyptian signatures in it because of intermixing, but it's not magical. It doesn't. It's not like something controlling the people. The modern Arabs are ethnically something else, and they have their own history of admixing within the Arab Empire. So, but what is missing from that study is the amount who the modern Arabs are, and besides Egyptian, it's interesting that we could talk about their lack of their sub-Saharan or their ancient Egyptian, but what about the rest of the admixing? Who are these people? So they're just not. You just can't connect these Arabs just to the ancient Egypt. I want to know about the Arabs in the Arab Empire, and then we can find out.
Yeah, they go back to Anatolia and all that.
That's correct. All that. So why make a big deal of ancient Egypt when we could X-ray? We can X-ray the Arabs
because they're the closest to the ancient Egyptian population that's still living today, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So,
who's the closest?
The contemporary Egyptians right now that are living there.
Oh no, the academic consensus is that those are the same people that were there yesterday.
Right. But I'm just answering Reggie's question.
Right.
So I'm answering Reggie's question.
Absolutely not. And so that's what I'm trying to say with the.
You're saying that that's not that. No, I just want to make sure I got you clear. You're saying that that's not the academic consensus, that the Egyptians that are there today are not the Egyptians that were
Yeah, that's
that
what
were
he's
there
saying.
yesterday. Is that
Yeah,
your
that's what I
stance, Reggie?
said. That's what I
Okay,
said.
so you think that the population that's there today is of an invading force?
Absolutely.
Okay, so your disposition is different than Unc's.
Yeah, my position is different. My position is different than Ankh, and it's slightly different than Gozi. I understand the deep DNA of a group of people, but where I agree with
Well, you're
Ankh
a lot
is,
different than Gozi.
yeah,
Yeah,
what
not slightly.
I agree with Ankh is, what I agree with Ankh, and this agreement with Ngozi, is ethnicity. These Arabs believe in Islam. They believe in Allah. There's nothing about their character that besides being in academia, the Hawass and the rest of these people are illiterate about ancient Egypt, right? Except for their jobs in tourism and stuff like that. They're not taught this in the Arab school. That this is not, even Dr. Ben, who taught at a Sunni university, he had to convert to Islam to teach there, right? So that there was rules. You have to convert to Islam to even begin to have a conversation in an Arab university. So all Arab universities are staffed by people who believe in the religion of Islam.
Yeah, but Reggie, was this in a series of invading Arab forces, or was this one climactic event to where
No, it's a
they?
series. It's from 640 AD to the current time. The Arabs in different flavors, if you want, were part of Egypt. So yes.
Okay. Yeah,
But you know, they can genetically distinguish between people who are North African and Arabs, which are West Asian. They can make genetic distinctions between the two.
Yeah, they can, but there's a history when Arab male army comes in and decimates the male population of the Berbers and the Egyptians and other groups of people. You won't let me speak? Okay,
Go
you
ahead, pardon me.
speak.
Go ahead, pardon me.
Go ahead, Reggie. No. Go ahead, Reggie.
Finish, Reggie.
Because I haven't heard you give this explanation before. I'm very curious.
I want to hear this. Go ahead, Reggie. Pardon me.
He does it all the time, but he's gonna tell you he got a presentation coming and he's gonna do it on the big channel.
No, let him. No. This is actually very interesting.
Go ahead, tell him.
I want to hear it.
Yeah. So Arab army comes into Africa at 640, right? And I'm going to deal with that a little later, but there's some things I can deal with tonight, right? Which, if you allow me, maybe about 7 to 8 minutes, I can present what I'm going to, the beginning of what I'm going to present on another channel, to give you some context. So all the DNA studies, what are the DNA studies that's happening? They're comparing modern Egyptians. They have sampling of modern Egyptians, right? The modern Egyptians, but they're not the ancient Egyptians. And they're sampling that with cemeteries. And they are cherry picking the cemeteries that they're sampling. And the Cambridge Elements talks about those particular problems, that at particular times, we know in these particular cemeteries which groups of people are in those cemeteries. Now, to be ancient Egyptian simply means that you give some allegiance to the king, and that you practice or you believe in their system, which is Ma'at, and which is basically their law. And so, as long as you do that, and you're not problematic, you can live in Egypt. And so, many groups of people are coming into Egypt, and they leave signatures. and there's lots of different burials. But what is absent from the data is the signatures of all the different burials. They find they find several burials in the Delta region. If you're looking in the Delta region, you know what you're going to find. You're going to find a lot of mixed people. If you look at it in Cairo, you're going to find mixed groups of people. You're going to find Ptolemy cemeteries. You're going to find the late Said cemeteries. You're gonna, if you cherry, but what about all of the cemeteries? So
let me ask you, Reggie, on that point. So what would have been the incentive for these invading forces to strategically castrate the men or kill the men?
Okay, what happened over different time periods? So I will like, so I'm just trying to find, Magic Mike, thank you so much for that. I'm trying to figure out what I just said is for architect, I just said that Cambridge has come in and reviewed the scientific research and is pointing out some problems.
And you're gonna present that on Sunday, you said?
Yeah, but
okay.
Today I want to give you just a little. I just want to give you a little flavor because I have some pseudo killer bullies. One being Thunder, talking about where did the people go, right? And then I have Corey who's asking, you know, Corey's funny, so I don't take Corey as mean spirited. I take Corey as just asking an intellectual question, building a channel, and having his own point of view. So I don't take that architect. You are just a one pony. I mean, you've written one pony. And I don't, you know, and as far as me being a pseudo or scholar,
yeah, I definitely think you're a pseudo scholar. I think you present pseudo scholarship. I remember we had past discussions, me and you, about Malcolm X, and you told me he didn't.
No, we're not talking about Malcolm X today.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Malcolm X today. So let's just cut this out. I'm in Malcolm X's organization.
I get that.
Everybody knows that I am in.
We're not talking about Malcolm X. We're not talking about Malcolm X.
Yeah, we're not. So why? So we're not talking about Malcolm X. All right. So let me
dispute one time, and he said Malcolm X never renounced racism, and I showed it to him, and he told me I wasn't. Didn't know.
I agree with
that. That's fine. That's fine. I want to have a Malcolm X discussion.
That's all. I'm not
Let's move on. Let's move on, Reggie.
Okay.
New discussion.
All right. So here's the deal.
Can you send me the link, because I want to be able to share my screen. I'm on my phone right now. I want to get to my laptop.
I think Reggie the host.
Oh, Reggie, could you put it in the YouTube
what?
The link?
The Zoom link. It should be in there.
Yeah, I can put it. I can put it in as well.
I don't know. What are the okay? So how do I?
You want to put it in the Zoom link?
Tell me how do I put the link in?
That's all right. Brandon can do it.
I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
Thanks.
I got it.
All right. So let's get down to this. So Corey, to Corey and to I mean, Chief X is not a part of this conversation. So I'm going to present part of my theses, if I could share my screen, and then I'll stop. But this is probably going to be one of my first couple of slides. Okay. All right, and that should begin to answer where I'm coming from.
First preview, for sure.
All right. So thank you.
Are you gonna allow a question and answer, Reggie, after your first few slides? Okay.
Okay. So
you're in new territory.
I'm going to admit ex-architect. So that's all right with you, Corey, and that's all right with you, Sheffer?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to admit him. Okay, since I'm the host, and I'm going to.
Let's get to this so we can have this conversation.
Okay, so I'm going to share. Okay. Well, it's. Let me just see where it says share my screen, and here it goes right here. Okay, so. You can see my screen?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to begin my argument with the populations of Africa, not in dynastic Egypt, but in the the Greek to Arab periods, maybe slightly before. And I've already allowed Bobby Benga to address early Africans, and that's not because I can't do it. It's because Bobby Benga has engaged in this community with this conversation, and so he presented last night or the night before, I forget, right? My presentation is basically that that this community does not know the history of replacement populations of Africa as well as they should, and that North Africa at large and the Egyptian population has changed due to invasions. The original North African peoples before the invasion of Africa, that's the Carthage and the Greek period that I want to deal with, right? North African people and population can only be specified from historical sources better than DNA. DNA gives us some great ideas, but we could look at historical sources of the Greeks and the Romans and the Numidian populations, the Phoenicians, the Chinnu or the Amazighi people, the Berbers, and late Egyptian civilization. So let's just review a couple of issues, and I just want to review, just deal with a couple of issues. Okay, so let's just count the Greeks in Egypt. So so Egypt is going to change, and so in this time period of the Ptolemy period, right? The population of Egypt is from different sources, roughly ranging around 4 million. Greek adult males in the Fayum, 6,500. Adult males in the Fayum, 30,000, but that is a mixed population of groups of people. And then they say, I guess in Egypt at large, 20,000, and it goes, and then they change based on different data, right? So the Greek total population is about under 1 million people from 3 different categories. So when the total time period of the Greeks in Egypt is roughly back and forth depending on annually, these calculations of roughly at the max 1 million and somewhere around at the minimum 758,000, but roughly ranging some consensus around 866,000 Greeks come into ancient Egypt, right? And then the data says that they relook at another estimate. They relook at it, and they have different population studies of Greeks in Egypt, right? So we have a large number of Greeks coming from when Alexander invaded Egypt and left his general Ptolemy in Egypt. And so now we know that at this particular time period, whatever Egypt was, it is populated in some ranges about, in one sense, 1 million population, right? And then basically to some other number here, right? This is in the mid 3rd century of Egypt that it was here in these figures. So, but in generally, they have a population of this. So then let's say, let's just round it off to about 1 million. So 1 million Greeks come into what we know is Egypt.
Okay.
And it's so that we know the gene pool now changes. Why does it changes? There's wars, there's revolts, there's admixture. Egypt begins to change. If you think that, and if the total population goes to about 4 million people because it expands, with the population of Greeks. So we can say that the other population is roughly around 3 million people that were indigenous and results of the North African Libyan conquering Egypt, and then whatever happened with the Assyrians and the Persians. But we know that at this time period, there's probably a 3 million population, but close to a million population of Greeks is in there to make a population, let's say, of 4 million people. So we have a very significant population change of different groups of people, right? And so I cite my data, right? That was in Stanford University, Immigration in the First Century of Ptolemaic Rule.
Princeton.
So we also have during this period, which is interesting, we also have a period where Hebrews are imported into Egypt from the territories that was conquered by the Greeks. So we have a population of about roughly at max 180,000 Jews coming into the city, but a minimum of 100,000 Jews coming into Alexandria. So we have a significant population of new people admixing, people dying, graves. We have remains. And we do know that the Ptolemaic people, we do know that they mummified themselves. They acted as Egyptians themselves. They became Egypt. Cleopatra, all the way from the 1st to the 7th, right? We know that they became Egyptians, and you really couldn't tell them too much apart, except for as they operated. They were a Greek population becoming Egyptian. That great experiment. And then, of course, there's all this ethnic cleansing in Roman Alexandria. So there's an article on the problems in Roman Alexandria when the Romans came in later, that the Romans are cleansing some of the Hebrews and cleansing some of the Greeks. So what is the population now of the Roman Egypt? Well, with the Romans pack up push, so now the population of Egypt spans to somewhere between 4.45 million and as high as 7.5 million in Hellenistic and Roman Egypt. So now there's this huge population of the population expanded with the Greeks. Now the Romans have to come and they have to control the Greeks and they have to control the population. So the population can shoot up as high as 7.5 million in Roman Egypt. Now with DNA studies and what gets lost is that you have this new population admixing with the indigenous population, admixing with the Greek population. So we have some changes. So they get it's hard to count the exact Roman population, but there is data to show that their population was pretty large, at least 1 million to 2 million. And I think I have another chart. In addition to this, what's happening also in North Africa is you have Carthage in North Africa, and you have this whole thing with the Massilian coup d'etat, and then you have the Roman occupation of Carthage, and so you have a large population in Carthage based on Rome, and that disturbs North Africa. And so with DNA studies and stuff, you have to take this into account. Some people who study DNA might not say it's significant, maybe, but that's the problems with DNA and history. So we have a huge population of Romans coming into Africa, coming into this Carthage area in North Africa, and they're killing people, and they're depopulating people, and they're controlling people, and then you have them coming into Egypt. Okay, so so we know some of the data about Carthage must be destroyed, right? The ethnic cleansing in North Africa.
Reggie, how many slides do you have left, Reggie?
Who's this?
This is Mike.
Okay. I'll stop right now. I'll
No,
stop.
No.
It's fine. I mean, it's fine. I wanted to begin to introduce some of my points, and so I'll politely stop sharing my
please,
screen.
please
No.
continue, because
I was going to ask a question because I think that other guys can disagree if they like, but I think that you have an understanding of what you're trying to present. I'm not quite sure just by looking at the slides you're presenting it in a way that we're understanding it. I'm a data guy. That's what I do 24/7 for my job. I get paid a lot of money to do it. And I'm looking at your points and I'm looking at the data and I'm understanding it differently than the way you're presenting it. So I'm not sure if you're
Magic
doing
Mike,
yourself.
it's fine. I mean, I have it's interesting. I mean,
yeah. If you can go to slide 2, go back to slide 2 if you don't mind, because I have a question about the point you're trying to make with the Greek population from table 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, so let's go back.
Because when I read your abstract is saying something that you're not even necessarily addressing as you briefed the slide, and then I'm trying to understand
which slide.
The second slide that had table 5, data and results after the first adjustment, something to that effect. What's the central point of this slide, and how does it in some way connect to what you mentioned earlier about the taking out the male population, castrating them, or whatever the case may be?
I didn't say that. I didn't say it.
Yeah,
So let's look at 5, right? It says calculations in table 5 demonstrate that it's problematic to use the numbers given by the Fayum evidence of another study for the whole of Egypt, even if it's a rough approximation. Indeed, if we and so what they have doing without showing the whole the slide, and if I need to show the whole slide, I will. But basically, the data comes from immigration in the first century of the Ptolemaic rule, and what the data is basically trying to say is from all the different elements, what is the total population in Egypt from all of the different estimates? Without
gotcha. And that's your 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the total 4 million, 3.5, etc.
Right, from different calculations, from different scholars calculating the data. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then you're saying that the roughly 3 million down there at number 12 is the total amount of the Greek males, which we could do that math and come up with the percentage. But who's making up the rest of that population, the rest of that 4 million in that time frame?
Who's making up the rest of the other ones, the adult males in the Fayum, right? And the Fayum is how can I say, part of Egypt, but you could say more like the delta and the western side, and then you have the population which they're saying in Egypt, and then they say and then they try to do some density analysis, right? And so when they say Egypt and Fayum, they're talking about populations that are not the Greeks. So then they come up, not me, they come up with the total Greek population is this, from what they're whatever they are estimating based on. I just wanted to take a slide instead of bringing out all of the different data analysis. Now, what does it say over here? It says
I
presents the data and methods available to estimate the number of Greeks immigrating and settling in Ptolemaic Egypt. I shall argue that the evaluation generally proposed 10% of the Greeks are too high, and the flow of immigration implicitly expected too regular. The new calculation demonstrate we should rather consider 5% of Greeks in Egypt, and I use 4 independent methods to evaluate the number of Greeks based on the estimation of the number. Greek soldiers fighting at Raphia, Macedonia, soldiers settling in Egypt, cavalrymen granted with land, adult Greek males living in Phaeum. The first 3 methods focus on soldiers, while the 4th one provides us with a mathematical model for evaluating both Greek military and civilian settlers. These demographic revisions refine our analysis of social, economic, and cultural interactions between the different groups of populations.
Gotcha. I'll kick it to somebody else, but I think I understand you. Now you're
My point
basically
is
saying
that as a I am evaluating the invading populations of Egypt, right?
Okay.
And I'm starting here with Egypt with the Greeks, where I could, as a researcher, find some data to allow to give me an idea of basically if this population is 3.5 million, then the Greek males living in the Phaeum is 6,500, 30,000 adult males in the Phaeum, and then break it down this way with the different results. And
Gotcha.
I'm not.
Hey, brother Reggie, I would ask this: if you could please, I guess complete to showing us what you were going to show us, because I'm a data guy as well, right? So
Yeah.
you're sort of giving us a preview, right? So I would like to see what else you had to show us, so
Yeah.
so that we can actually take a look at everything in
Right.
its
So my main
totality.
point. So thank you so much, Brendan. So my main point is that my where my disagreement with Ankh and my disagreement with Ngozi, they're not hard, disrespectful disagreements. But to say that the Egyptian population that exists now in Egypt, right, have some large connection to the ancient population, I disagree. I disagree based on what do we mean by ancient population? Are they Old Kingdom? Do they have a relationship with Old Kingdom? Well, the data analyzed doesn't look at Old Kingdom, because all of a sudden the Old Kingdom DNA can't be matched, right? So what can be matched
Sequence.
is the a lot of the data actually in the Ptolemaic period can be matched, right? That could be matched. And then there are some other graveyards. And then so even when you go to the Canaanite period, then you have DNA, and you don't really have DNA analysis. It's kind of blocked. So you have that teeth analysis, the strontium, where the Hyksos might have come from. So they don't have hard DNA evidence there. So the Cambridge Elements article is basically just briefly talks about all these types of problems. So we can have intuition, but now what if we study the incoming populations of ancient Egypt? And that's what I'll do in my presentation, if you understand my methodology. So then when I get through them, I do talk the Greeks. I do talk about the Greeks importing groups of Hebrews that will stay in Egypt for an enormous amount of time, and there was some syncretism, and some of them will become part of the Christian faith. Some of them will be part of the Roman control, right? So they become Roman Christians, and then but some of the Hebrews will actually stay in Egypt to another time period where we deal with the Arabs and the Arab slave trade. So what I'm trying to do is basically saying that when they do these DNA studies and they come up with these things, if you uncover a grave, unless there's some closing or something, you don't know who you are sampling.
Right. But what you're not saying that the DNA studies are incorrect. You're saying they're not painting the full story, and what you're trying to do, you've admitted it's a theory, and you're putting it together. You're trying to add more layers to the stories through this data, but you're not saying it's wrong.
No, I'm not saying the DNA, if it's not contaminated, or if it's not manipulated, then I'm not saying the DNA is wrong. But what I am saying is that the control of the ancient population of ancient Egypt is in the hands of the state of Egypt, the modern state of Egypt, and so there's limited DNA testing where there could be much more. And I think that they're moving more labs in, but it's like the Vatican. It's like, let me see it first. Okay, you could publish it, you can't publish it. It's the same with giving out licenses. If you make a fine, the Egyptian government has to march through and they could make a press release, right? It's controlled by the Egyptian government. It's their country.
All right,
You were cut off. You
y'all.
were cut off, man. Can you please finish your presentation, Reggie, please?
Hold on. He wasn't cut off. Everybody heard it. What's up, Thunder?
Oh, so let me give Sheffrin back. Sheffrin, so let me figure out how to give you back the host.
No, you the co-host, Reggie. I still got host. I made you the co-host in case I stepped
so
away.
my point is,
hold on, Reggie. Hold on, Reggie. Give me a second. Man of No War works in the field, right? I gave him the invite to come on the stream last night, and at night he said he can't jump on because it's too late. I totally understand, but bruh, anytime you get a chance to, I would love for you to come on the stream to build with us. For the simple fact
this is the second time he done pump faked us.
Let me say, because if you work in the field, we would love to have somebody in the field come on the panel, because I believe that we're all making mistakes on both sides. So if you're academically trained in it, I would love for somebody, or you could get a team of y'all that would engage with us. I would love for that to happen. You by yourself, or you and another colleague or a student or anybody that you know that's well versed, to see how sharp we are with this, and to show us the mistakes that we're making. You know what I mean? To help us sharpen our game, because I know we're making mistakes on both sides. But go ahead, Reggie.
Yeah, that's what I want to. Please, that'd be great right there.
Yeah.
I don't believe we're making mistakes on both sides, but
I don't
I
either.
could be wrong.
Yeah, we have to.
And I didn't intend to cut Reggie off. I just wanted him to go back to that slide too, because he mentioned he wasn't showing all the data, and I could tell that something's missing there from the way he was briefing the slide.
Okay, so that's why.
But I get it now. I get it now.
Mike, you can go to the article "Counting the Greeks in Egypt: Immigration in First Century of Ptolemaic," right? His study in Stanford, and I've been looking for some more kind of like statistical or data specific study, but I haven't seen anything later than his work in 2007. And how can I say, yes, the numbers can be changed, but he takes the numbers from different groups of people who've already published estimates,
right,
and then he tells you his methodology of who he's getting it from. And the believe it or not, when we go to Rome, so we do know that from roughly 180,000 Jews were imported at the max, but it could be a little as 100,000, and then there's a source. Now the populations of Romans, I've been when I have had time, I've been looking up, but they basically say, from David O'Connor, puts the population of the New Kingdom at 29 to 4.5 million, as high as 7.5 million in Hellenistic Roman. So he's seeing a change of 3 million people going into Hellenistic and Roman Egypt. So he's looking at the population of what you might have thought as ancient Egyptian indigenous, right? And then he's looking at this new population of maybe close to 3 million in Hellenistic and Roman Egypt, given the Greeks and the new Roman control. My point of it is that a population increase of indigenous Africans from 1 million to 2 million to 3 million of a new population is significant when and it gets even more significant when we look at other populations. And then I tried to do this with Carthage, North Africa, that Roman also comes into and disturbs Northern Africa, and Northern Africa is a breadbasket, right? And so they have a large presence, and they had a large presence to make sure that nothing about Carthage ever comes back.
So
right?
Rome makes populations grow.
Rome, it does. It's it's an increase of Romans in North Africa.
So Rome had that many people that they introduced 3 million new people to the population.
In Egypt, yes. In
over
North
what time
Africa,
period? Over what time period? Like over
during the Hellenistic and Roman Egypt.
So they doubled the population of Egypt.
Well,
how many people was in Rome? So what was the population of Rome if they left Rome? And that mean that they all went to Egypt?
I just want the source on that.
No, I'm giving you the sources.
Oh, they brought in other people from the Levant and other
right,
people. Okay,
right. So
I see what you're saying.
What happens is the Roman Empire,
right?
Both the Greek Empire and the Roman Empire, they have mercenaries. They have lots of different groups of people that they control and enslave from all over the world, right? Mm-hmm. And they use them in their armies, right? They're forced to serve in their army, and so in order for the Romans first to have defeated the Ptolemies, right? Now, what do we know about that? We know about Cleopatra. We know about Caesar. Hold on. We know about Octavia.
Hold on.
Who's saying hold on?
They may be talking to someone else, not you. Go
ahead.
Right.
Go on mute, brother. Yeah, you're talking to somebody.
So we know. so we know that Ptolemy was implanted in Egypt, and that we know that there was a huge war where Octavia becomes Caesar, and he conquers the Ptolemies, the Ptolemy, and they have been implanted in Egypt for a long time period, and they totally implanted them. And there was another group of I forgot the other group. And maybe I have to go back and get the other group of people that was warring with the Greeks, the Ptolemies themselves, but it was another Greek group. But the thing about it is, in order for Rome to conquer, they had to have a significant army that's going to conquer the Ptolemaic army, and so that has some interest in the population. It becomes interesting. What is now the population of Egypt with all these different groups coming in as we start to do DNA, and then we try to say minimize the population of indigenous Africans there, and then now the population of indigenous Africans now are tightly controlled. They are admixed. They're scurrying. They're trying to intermarry into families, right? And so the population is changing. So then we get a new flavor in this particular period of what's happening to Egypt before we get into the modern day, very, very surgical DNA studies. And so I'm almost finished with my introductory. So then we have Carthage in North Africa, which Rome is inside North Africa. So that population changes. We have the war between Carthage, right?
You got, what are the birth rates though? Like what are,
right? I don't have all the data, but what
it's incomplete right now.
Yeah. Let's let the brother get through it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say that I have looked for the data, right? And the data is scarce. So as someone who's doing trying to be having a methodology, I am looking at the populations. What if the populations are not there? What if just history is there? What if nobody's counting? What if I don't have the accurate records, right? So but that doesn't change my point that you have populations coming into North Africa and Egypt. That doesn't change, but I do have some data. Now,
Yeah, but in terms of overturning of a population, you're gonna have to understand at least like some idea of birth rate of
Yeah.
of
well,
If
there's
you,
plagues. There's not birth rates only. There's plagues.
I didn't say
There's
birth rate only. I said, but birth rates would be including and understanding the population
right,
because you
but
have to
what
factor in
I agree. I
how fast.
agree. But what if
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't? What if? Can I still make the point if
you,
if the
of course
data
you
doesn't?
can.
Yeah.
But you can, but
Point.
it just remains a theory. It just becomes another point.
Hey, Reggie, can you
It
please
doesn't have any
finish, bro?
staying power. The point
Please finish,
won't
man.
have any staying power.
I don't want to get it in. He want to get
Oh,
it in.
man, just let the man finish,
All
man.
right.
Come
I'm
on, let's
sorry,
be
Thunder.
fair.
I'm sorry, Thunder. I'm sorry.
Let's
But
let the boat land. We're gonna let the
the
boat
problem
land.
is if he leaves it like this, man, it ain't gonna look good for him. So just let him try to finish. Come on,
Oh
man.
no. Wait, let me just say this.
Say it,
Hey,
Rick.
my dude. Hey, let me see I was listening
Thunder.
to you at first and I was just trying to say, but then when you say it don't look good, I'm saying, who are you, Nika? Who are you? What data have you shown, Nika?
Don't
What's
nobody
your
respond.
presentation, Nika?
Don't nobody
And I ain't calling
respond.
you a
Just let him
nigga.
finish.
I'm calling you a nika. Because guess what? I am not going to, I never said I was going to finish my presentation today. What
Right.
I'm just trying to give you is some elements of some methodology, Nika. But I want to see, Nika, what you've ever written, Nika.
Okay.
What you've ever presented. But the difference between me, Nika, is that I am accepted by other scholars, Nika. Now, I do come on this platform, right? I do come on this platform to serve people who are thinking, Nika, but all you have is questions.
You gonna let him get it in, Reggie?
Hey, Reggie,
No, don't matter cut him off. Let him
No,
finish.
Thunder. No one's cutting them off, man. We're just
Please
having this
let him finish.
conversation.
Thunder,
Don't
one's
let the
cutting him
red
off.
herring. What he tried to do with the red
Thunder,
herring,
he's
right? To
good.
get
He's
yellow.
good. He's
Yeah,
good.
no one's
Don't
cutting
let
them
none of
off.
that slide right now.
No, I'm saying,
Reggie, go
Thunder,
ahead and finish.
it's all right. We could pause right there because he was just giving us a synopsis. It's incomplete. So we could just pause. He was just giving us a taste of
Yeah,
what he
because
had.
this is not, because you know
So we
what?
can move
I
forward.
am
You
not
go ahead.
actually focusing on this. This is not the period that I'm focusing on, right? Because this is not really relevant to what I'm really focusing on, right? So I have more information on another period. But anyway, such were the people who were said before settled in North Africa at this place, known to them as the Karajas, but to the Romans as Carthage. Being of Semitic stock, they had also an Eastern culture. Although not much is known about them between the 9th and 6th centuries, they carried on the Phoenician tradition of commerce. They went as far as Britain for tin, into the interior of Africa for slaves, ivory, gold, and precious stones. This is the Carthage. And Hanno is said to have explored as far as the equator. Their settlements dotted in the coast of western Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, Malta, the Balearic Islands, Spain, and perhaps the Canary Islands. That's part of Africa. A writer even suggests that in the march of Carthage and in tables of her merchant princes, rumors may have been heard of a new world beyond the Western Ocean. Early in the 6th century, some powerful Phoenician families, and these are groups of people coming out of Asia, right, into Africa, into Carthage, had come to Carthage because they had been driven out of Tyre by Assyrian invaders. At about this time, Carthage began to close African and Spanish waters to Greek traders since the decline of the Phoenician and Athenian navies had left. My point is that North Africa is changing, and so you have different groups of people embedded in this culture, and then let's just see where I want to go.
Yeah. Reggie, when you get to Sonetta, you gonna put the sources up that show that the ancient Egyptian population was displaced by invaders and
Oh yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, and then also just for inquiring minds, what happened to the ancient Libyans? Because they're being changed. Chasing sources across the Sahara from Herodotus to Ibn Khaldun, we want to at least have a source to say that the population of North Africa at large had changed. And let's just see. And then there's another article on the Garamantes and their trans-Saharan enterprise in classic times. And the Garamantes are the ancient Libyans and their contribution, right? The Saharan chariot routes, right?
Are you saying that the ancient Libyans were black too?
Hell no.
Yeah, I'm saying the ancient Libyans were mixed.
What mixed? What do you mean mixed? What does
They
that
were
mean?
African population, but when you say that they're black, yes, they're connected.
Hold up, X.
Yeah, see, this is
Yeah, y'all, it ain't fair, man. Y'all ain't treating this man fair, bro.
Reggie, you feel like I'm doing something wrong?
No. No, the issue is it says the first trans-Saharan contacts certainly preceded the arrival of the Arabs in North Africa. But these earlier contacts of such interest for early histories of the Western Sudan are difficult to trace or document in any detail. The evidence is limited, a few notices in classical writers, incomplete archaeological data, and inferences as can be drawn from Saharan rock art. It is also lopsided, tied to the horizons of the Mediterranean world. The literary sources inevitably present in the viewpoints of their own societies, and all the useful archaeological materials is of Roman origin. Consequently, far more is known of relationships between the coastal areas of the Saharan people than of the relationships between the Saharans and the Sudanese. Far more also of the Central Saharan, easily accessible from the coast of Tripolitania than of the West, secluded by the barrier of the Atlas Mountains. It is also due to the state of the evidence and not to any judgment of any specific historical importance that the study is almost exclusively concerned with the Central Saharan traffic, in which the Garamantes were the chief middlemen. But despite all these limitations, the attempt to collate the available sources is worthwhile. Taken together, they do yield a pattern. Even if a little can be established with certainty, a study of the evidence will show which hypotheses are at least possible or better suited than others. And then they talk about the Saharan chariot routes. So then they go on and start talking about the connections with the Garamanti, these groups of people, and the other groups of their neighbors, right? The upper limit for their use is the introduction of the horse-drawn war chariot into Egypt from Syria by the Hyksos in the 7th century. I guess they're beginning to talk about just the culture of the people and the different contacts, right? And so I'm only introducing this so that the people who are on the screen can understand that that the North Africans in this particular period, with the introduction of chariot, they're moving around and they are communicating, trading with different groups of people.
Enslaving.
Say what?
They were enslaving the black people to the south. Is even attested to by Herodotus when he wrote about the Garamantes and their chariots. Herodotus is quoted saying that the Garamantes hunt Ethiopians, what he called them, troglodyte Ethiopians on their chariots. A lot of the Romans would get black people into Rome from the Garamantes, who were the chief slave raiders to the people of the South. So it's hard for me to believe. And then we have the Garamantes script. They actually have a script that is akin to the ancient Egyptian script. So it's a lot of connection to that, but they were slave traders of black people. That's one of the things that they traded from the southern population of people, the ivory that they would get, and they would traffic and black slaves also.
Reggie, just so I have your position clear, because you said the people in Libya were mixed. If you were to give a percentage as to how much sub-Saharan African DNA the Libyans had, what would you say?
I'm
Just
pretty,
a rough estimate.
Yeah, I'm pretty pretty clear that it depends on it just depends on the time period. So it just really depends on the time period, because if you look at the rock art, I'm trying to be an honest presenter. If you look at the rock art in the Tassili Niger, and then you look at the rock art in Chad, right? Then the rock art is very, very specific, very similar with the same type of icons. So I'm not going to do, I don't think it's important to do DNA, because I don't think I can, between the two groups of people, but I can just say that they are interconnections.
Okay,
so brother, I think you did a great job. It was an overview. It's not going to be a deep dive.
Yeah, because this is,
you see, we don't want to go into a deep dive into your conversation.
I'm not trying to
you're
get
going to
into
do it again.
I'm not trying to get into Reggie's presentation anymore. I just want to understand his stance on North Africans, their genetic composition, because that's the most important thing to a people is their genetic composition.
Why didn't I give you a source that you can go to? And I will put the source up in my larger presentation, but I mean, why do you keep humping on that, man? I told you where it's in. I told you it's in the article on elements, and I said that I will deal with it later in the full presentation.
Reggie, you told me you were gonna present that on Sunday. I ain't got whenever you go to Sunday, I don't have a problem with that. I just wanted to know your stance on their genetic composition, because you said that the Libyans were mixed, and you say that the ancient Egyptians were black. Am I correct in saying that, or?
Well, I don't know if he said the ancient Egyptians are black yet.
Reggie, can you explain to me what the layout of the North African genetic landscape was during the time of the ancient Egyptians? That's all I want.
I told you, but see, here's the thing, and I don't think I think you have listening comprehension.
Yeah, he do, man. For real.
I think that you have listening comprehension. I said that the data that we get from DNA, right, is dependent on the state of Egypt, right, and they're not forthcoming. They're not forthcoming with all of the DA for anybody to make a determination.
But I wasn't exclusively talking about Egypt. Egypt is one North African country. You have other North African countries that have other
okay.
And so I'm asking you, from your
give me stop it. So give me the DNA, right? Give me the DNA, and still knows this. If you don't have the elements of the ancient Egyptian population, then you can't make a determination either way.
Well, they had the three mummies that they managed to sequence.
Right. Can you really make an analysis on 3 mummies?
Well, that's all the evidence that we have, Reggie. We don't have from the evidence that we have. The evidence says that these people are not black, that they are most genetically related to individuals from the Levant area. We can
go ahead, Thunder. Go ahead, Thunder.
Reggie, do you mind please finishing whatever you do?
Finished.
He's finished. He's finished. He's finished.
I think it's done. We're in the afterthoughts.
Everybody, hold up, man. I don't think the man is Brandon.
He's finished.
I'm sorry.
I'm listening.
Thunder, he wasn't presenting Thunder. He was showing you an excerpt of what he was putting together.
Is he finished? What he was trying to present? That's all I'm
Reggie,
saying.
say you're done. Reggie, say you're done, so we can have converse.
I am done with my preview.
I have enough respect for Reggie to allow the man.
You ain't
to
got no
finish
fucking
before
respect for me.
But
You ain't got no fucking respect for me.
And Thunder,
And I got zero
Thunder, he just
respect.
said he was done, so let's
And
go
I
ahead.
got zero respect for you.
Okay.
But see, he said he's done,
problem.
Thunder. Now go ahead and make your statement.
No
So we
problem.
can
Now,
move the
Reggie,
conversation.
I just got one question, bro. Are you saying that the that 3 million and the 4 million that you were showing in example 5 in that slide that Magic Mike brought out? I think it was what, 4 million or 5 million? How much it was, Magic Mike? 4 million, right? Are you saying that those 4 million were black people, and then 300,000 Greeks came in and drove them away?
Silence is deafening.
No, because I gave you the source, Nika, and the source is not what I'm doing is I'm showing you sources, Nika. And so when I give you a source, Nika, then you can go and then you can make the determination, right? And that's what people who do research is, but people who sit on toilets and read newspapers come and do crossword puzzles, right? Or do strange rituals and acting like those rituals aren't religious, right?
No, nobody respond.
When a person gives you a source, let me just make it plain. When I give you a source, I don't have to make any generalization on it, especially when I'm telling you I am beginning a conversation on the population change of Egypt and North Africa.
I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, but if you're speaking to a change, then you have to be speaking to the fact of
I got you, Sosa. Let me walk. I'm gonna walk him right to you now, Reggie. You're saying that it was a population change. You're saying that I'm gonna just say it. You're saying that the population of Egypt is estimated by the whoever that person was to be 4 million black people.
No, I didn't say that, Nika. No, Nika, I didn't say that.
Okay.
Anybody heard me say that?
Ninja.
No, he fine. Let him.
Anybody,
I don't know why he's calling me these
here?
words, but that's fine. Go
no, for that big brain, that big forehead, right? See? For that big forehead that you have, I want to ask the population, did I say that? Brendan, did I say that?
What you said was about 4 million there. Then I did the math. About 7.5% were males, and about almost a quarter of them was the total Greek population. Right. If you do the math, that's what it ends up being. Right.
That's exactly.
That's what you're saying.
My point is,
let's stay away from the insults, bro.
So my point,
leave him alone, man. Leave him alone. He
good.
But
I'm saying we gotta do away with the taking
I
shots.
Understand. I mean, yeah.
Okay, but wait. I don't disagree.
I don't know where it's coming from, but
I don't disagree. But if let me just lower my voice. Family. I don't like name calling, right? But when I am, how can I say, pushed up against a wall, right? Then I will respond. What I am trying to say to the family is that when we start looking at populations of Egypt, I gave a starting point, which is the period of the Greeks to the Romans, which is called the Hellenistic, and I gave a change in population to let us know that the indigenous population is beginning to change with the available data that I can collect. But this is not the period that I'm most interested in. This is just giving you yes, huh?
You said genetics isn't the subject you're most interested in? I didn't hear you.
No.
Okay.
Watch this.
Did I say that?
No.
I said I didn't hear you.
It was a question. It was a question. Just relax. It was just a question.
No, that's not what I implied.
Okay, sorry.
That's not what I implied. So do we have a listening maybe somebody else?
No listening problems. But when you presented the slide, you didn't give the dates. You described it as Hellenistic, whatever description you gave, But you didn't say this was the time period.
Right, because I gave the time period of the peopling. So I can even because I gave you some data based and I gave you a source, and I did say that this is just a preview of how might we look at population changes, right, in the Hellenistic period, right? And those sources are based on the Hellenistic period. My source did not give me specific dates.
So
My
the
source didn't
Hellenistic
give me they
period.
didn't give me specific dates. They gave me the data from the from what available sources they have, given the different ways in which they might have counted it.
Okay. Does
Gotcha.
that source state that those 4 million people that were in Egypt were black?
No.
No.
So how are you assuming that it was a pop?
No, he said he's gonna present. He's gonna present.
Yeah, he's going to present. So the Hellenistic period, about 300 BCE.
Yeah.
That's not even the ancient Egypt time frame that we're necessarily talking about. You know, whatever was black predominantly by that time had already gone off the scene. You know, so what they came in and you know intermixed with someone else that was not black by that point. We gotta all agree on that. If it was at some point,
yes,
yeah, if it was some point predominantly black, it happened thousands of years prior to 300 BCE. We got to agree with that.
So we have a mixed population, still African, no matter what the mixture is, until the really the Greeks. Well, we had the Assyrians come in. We had the Nubian. Before that, we had the Nubians take control of Egypt. They fought a group of Libyan people or that was working with the Assyrians. They fought the Assyrians. They got pushed back into Nubia. This is the Shabaka, Taharka, Pianki, Taharko. All those groups got pushed back in, and so at this particular point, we have a very, very mixed Egyptian civilization. So if we know at this particular period, at this particular period, when the Greeks and then the Romans come in, we know that the population of Egypt in itself, it's a mixture. So obviously there are what you call Black people from the sub-Saharan in there, but there are other groups of people from the state of Egypt. So then the question is, when people come in and then they do these DNA studies, given the population change, right? Their DNA could be right, but it could be screwed because they're not taking into context the different populations. Thus, Cambridge Elements comes in and says some of the things that I am saying, but they say it's shorter. So I read the Cambridge and the Elements, and then I just on ethnicity. And so what I'm trying, so I said, okay, fine. So then, given trying to answer a question about how the population of Egypt changed, right, and where did the people go, right? Knowing that there will still be some Black people in Egypt that have connections to a more ancient period, I am going to address what happened to those people. Wow. And I'm going to address what happened to their neighbors and their neighbors. So I'm going to address that in my larger presentation. But what I'm trying to get from the audience is, given the lack of data, the lack of concern on Africa at large, only being looked at through the eyes of the Greeks and the Romans and not the Africans themselves, right? then what you do now is you start to introduce data. So I want to ask the public at large, right? What part of my introductory methodology is flawed?
Who are you going
I
to
was
present it to? Who your
going to
audience?
Sonetta. So the first thing I would say is, if you're going to see as a population change,
You're going to lose them. You're going to lose them on the data.
What you're doing is, I see what you and Anka doing is bringing in the ethnic argument. So ethnically, yes, Greeks and Romans did come in and do their thing, right? I think we would submit to that. But just because their ethnicity changed and because their culture changed, we're talking about. I think what you're saying is the population race is what's changed. So I don't know where you. I think my first. I want to ask you one question. I don't know why you're so mad at me, but I asked one question. Can you show a mass migration of Black people leaving Egypt at any point in the history of this world?
He's gonna do that on Sonetta.
And you got very upset at me, and now you're calling me a nigga and everything. So
Nika, Nikka.
I don't know what that is, but
what is your Nika, Reggie?
I'm saying, Reggie,
but what I'm saying is, can you? I think the first part, the
he said he's gonna do it on Sonetta, Thunder.
Right, no problem. No, the population change. If you're going to tell me that the population was 4 million Black people, and then 300,000 Greeks came in.
Did I say that? Can I ask?
No.
I didn't say that. Wait, I got to get some water because can someone come in and tell Thunder?
But Reggie,
what I might have said.
Okay, I know what you said because I asked.
Okay, I'm gonna stop my video. I'm gonna get some water. Can you just tell Thunder? But because what Thunder is saying is not what I said, and I gave him the data, and I think that Mike saw it, and I think Brendan saw it, and and Sheffrin saw it. What did the data say?
Hey, Brandon, did you see anything that said Black people on that screen?
Here's some feedback.
Hold on, Brandon. Just tell me that. Did you see anything that said that there was a bunch of Black people?
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that screen that we saw. Right, that particular slide. It was extremely busy. It was a lot of data and information on that particular slide. That's why I initially asked. I was like,
I'm asking him now.
Who are you presenting this to? Right. Your audience is the biggest thing. It's like if you present that one slide to a Sonetta audience, they're not gonna understand anything on that particular slide deck. It's like and then I don't want to go into that.
And then he just didn't brief.
But when we came back, even us, right? We went back to that slide 2 or 3 times, and we still have questions on it, right?
Where did we see?
And we're trying to figure this out.
And
this is great.
We never said Black people. He's not saying Black people.
And you know what? And I think, and I think
he's just trying to show a population change. He didn't state the Blackness yet. He's just trying to show how a population can be switched.
Right. And I think the broader point is that we appreciate the data and information, right? But I think it could potentially get lost, right?
Right.
So I think you have to make it a little bit more concise, little bits and pieces, and move them on, right? Because
that's what
you're
I
going to
asked
end
for.
up. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Because the slide doesn't show population change. The slide doesn't show population change. The slide shows population composition as relative to the Greeks. Exactly. It says as approximately.
I asked him 2 or 3 times. Right. He keep getting upset. I don't know why.
Saying that he's going to, but he said he's going to show that later. That's why I was like, we can't even go. I said that from the beginning. Like, you can't get past a certain point because it says in the presentation.
Yeah, and it's a lot of data. It says a lot of information that he's presenting. That's why I say we can't parse through it. We just sort of.
But I asked him, is it okay to have a question and answer? He said okay. So we started questioning and answering.
Yeah, exactly. We just saying here, make it better here. You change this and change that. This is good data.
If you're showing a change though, right? I mean, less people are being just slaughtered. That still kind of would lead to genetics because you would start seeing
You start
It's not.
seeing
It's not.
markers. You start seeing markers dispersed in
It's
different
not.
areas. It would lay a
It's an
genetic.
implausible argument.
Yeah,
It's
it
It's
would
not.
lay a
implausible.
genetic. Yeah, it would lay. It would lay like a genetic trail.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It was showing the genetic record.
Yeah. From all the studies that are out right now, it shows that the population, despite the influx of invasions, the genetics remain
That there was.
remarkably the same. And
There was a continuity for like a
that's why
few.
I can't wait to see this presentation. This shit is
Yeah,
crazy.
I just
All right, y'all. The new stream is up. They still over there talking. Go over there now. I don't be wanting to make the streams too long, right? I be trying to break them up some, right? So go over there. The new stream is up. It's called pseudo. Dang, what the fuck is it called? What the hell did I name it? Oh, Saturday Night Live, part 2. All right. So y'all go over there and let's end this stream. So go over to the new stream, y'all. Do y'all hear me? Go while y'all still here. Go over to the new stream. It's up. That's how I know y'all don't be really listening and paying attention. Leave. Get out of here. Go over to the new stream.
Yeah. DQ. Check. Have you ever had a dream in the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Alright. Nigga, have you ever had a dream during the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Calculated every step, so I can't stand a hater out here hating on. Niggas out here making moves. See, I hand out the type of shit they waiting on. I'm the type to overlook a hand, cause the wrong step will cost an arm and leg. Niggas tripping, signing deals in red. I'ma hit the booth and make some hits instead. Light years ahead. We done go short a couple of albums, see we up for the challenge. Man, I'm focused on the bread. But these niggas be fucking understanding when it come to my talents. It just pop up past when it come to the salad. Yeah, zips to the head. And we never mind hating consumers when it come to the rumors, cause we put them hoes to bed. Oh yeah, niggas try to take the page out my book and take the same steps I took. Network and cultivating relationship, a skill still for real overlooked. Whole squad moving like we Voltron. Yeah, the whole 9 looking like a gold mine. I'ma show mine, nigga, when it's go time. I'ma blow mine, niggas, when it's showtime. Niggas try to take the page out my book and take the same steps I took. Cultivating a networking relationship, a skill still for real overlooked. Whole squad moving like we Voltron. Yeah, the whole 9 looking like a gold mine. Only show mine, nigga, when it's go time. I'ma blow mine, niggas, when it's showtime. Yes, sir. Have you ever had a dream in the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Alright. Nigga, have you ever had a dream during the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Yeah. Big dreams, nightmares and monsters. Pimp thieves, hoes, thoughts and choppers. Crooked oppers, play cops and robbers. Sip lean, smoke weed's the mantra. Weigh risk against shit that cost us. Hit a lick, it tastes bitter sweet.